Woo! How's it going out there, boys?
What up?
Fucking lovely right there.
Don't that get you in the spirit of things?
Of course. I love that jam.
Every time I hear that, the only thing I can think of is, it's a nice picture. You go buy it. Yeah.
Funny story about that. I talked to Wes about it, I think, a long time ago. My uncle wrote to that dude who sang that and said it was like, he like loved the song. And the dude sent him like the CD back and like wrote this big letter like to him and to my uncle and his wife, like thanking them for liking his music and stuff. So he still has that.
Yeah, I watched that guy, the Roger Bartlett or whatever his name is, like actually play that song live with another guy. He's actually really good. Like, I mean, aside from that song, he's a really good guitar player.
It's amazing. Yeah, he's still alive and kicking, last I heard at least.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So we already got a super chat. I would definitely want to give Scott Temple a shout out. Hello, guys. I enjoyed your videos. Started watching the original Dead Pit back in 2006. Long time ago.
Wow. Nice,
but
man.
only if you measure in terms of years.
That's right.
It doesn't feel like that long ago, believe it or not.
Definitely not.
But yeah, welcome. This is the first time we've done one of these shows in quite a while. I'm trying to remember what the last one was. Was it the Rob Zombie movies?
Rob Zombie! Yeah, it was.
Yeah!
Which he'll probably be in here. I mean, at least Fat Rob Zombie.
Yeah, I think we've done this.
Here.
I think this is like the fourth one that we've done.
Okay.
We did Halloween, Rob Zombie, Friday 13th, and Phantasm, I believe.
Try to go through some people that's in here. And we're going to get into it, guys, in detail. The release. We don't have all of the releases, but I think that we've got some really cool ones that we're going to talk about. And then pretty much everything from DVD on, we may have all of them, like at least the ones in the United States. But Adam 80s fan, Adam, it's the Dead Pit Boys, baby. We got Wet Movie in the house. Wet Movie is going to... He hooked us up.
He did.
We're not going to give it away, but tune in till the end. Watch all of it. Spend your entire Sunday night with us, and we
it's
will
well
have.
Worth it, I promise.
We will have a gift that'll keep on giving because I'm sure we'll use it over and over again. Foz Rotten is in the house. You boys want some head cheese? Sure. Head cheese ain't nothing here in Eastern Kentucky.
Good head cheese.
Every family should have head cheese in their refrigerator. Bombastic Reviews. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, bud?
Phantasmat says, Garrett, lovely shirt. Nice shirt.
It was like in a Fright Rags, some kind of like limited bundle thing they did one year, so I got it from them.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
Just say hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. It's good to see you.
Rob Zilla, he's trying to watch Supermarket Sweep, which he's a big fan of. That woman was in the Ghostbusters 2016 movie, right? I can't remember her name, but
speaking of which, real quickly, I watched the Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I actually am going to agree with Garrett on this one. Like, I actually thought that it was a really good movie.
Did you cry like a little bitch too?
No.
Now, how about this though? Were you a real big Ghostbusters fan, or was it just like a movie for you? Like, I was really big into it as a kid.
I mean, I liked it as much as anybody, I guess. Like, the first two I probably watched a dozen times, I would say at least. I'm not going to say that like it was as much as like horror films were to me or anything like that.
Right.
But I mean, I liked the movie.
Cool.
And I liked this one as much as the other two, I thought. Especially the fact that, well, it's going to be another story for another day, but I thought the lead little kid in it was actually really good. Egon's daughter or whatever.
Yeah, I thought so too, yeah.
Oh, so that's a girl? I thought that was a boy.
No, it's a girl, yeah.
Oh, okay. My whole thing is I just don't think there can be a mainstream Hollywood movie that's good anymore. So maybe that'll prove me wrong.
I mean it's as good as you can get, I think, from a mainstream movie. I really do.
Eric Samuel Perry, what's going on, man? Carlos has been waiting for this episode. I think we've timed this one just right, boys. Because Netflix is dropping in less than a week, right? Or no, when is it? It's a week from...
I think it's this Friday
18th.
coming, is it?
The
Isn't it?
18th.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
the 18th. Okay, so we got like
A
almost
week
2 weeks.
from this Friday.
Okay,
There
yeah.
we go. S'mores indoors. Our good buddy Corey is in the house. The Boba Fett's. Keep up the great work, gentlemen. Good to be with you boys tonight, says Michael Rashpal.
What's up, guys?
Ice Bowie said that I belong in a Just For Men commercial tonight.
What the fuck?
Let's see. Lots of comments, and we will get through them. We got a super chat from old Curly Jaws. Thank you, old Curly Jaws. We've been watching your stuff on YouTube, man. You have unique reviews on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, your catchphrase is brutal and badass. That's what would be on the old Curly Jaws production T-shirt. The first one should say just brutal and badass. So thank you, sir, for the super duper chat. I'm just going to go through these. It may be a little bit quicker to do that, and then we'll get into the first movie. Because the first movie has the most releases by far. Some of these movies have only had one release. So Holly Golightly acts like she's going to be sick. I don't know what's going on there. Mid-Level Media is in the house.
What's up, Ken?
Dirk Jason Hall is up in the heezy. Phantasmat, Texas HXCX, whatever. I'll take your picture for $5. Let's see who else we got here. Future Boy, see him in here talking about Afterlife.
He doesn't like it, no.
He is
No,
not a fan.
clearly,
That
clearly
sounds
he's
like
not a fan.
that sounds like my review.
Yeah.
I have not watched it yet, though. I will check it out. I am kind of a Ghostbusters fan. I even like the second one. You know, a lot of people don't like the second one. I got to see that in theaters, and I got to say, my favorite part of the second one is when they bust out the NES Advantage to control the Statue of Liberty.
What the fuck?
That was like, that's the coolest shit ever. Because
Right.
when I played the Nintendo back in the day, I used the NES Advantage. That was my preferred joystick.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I didn't either. I had the turbo controller. Didn't have
I
the
did too. It was like I had
Yeah.
like a blue. Were they blue? I had those. I think I got
Yeah.
suckered into like the off-brand ones because of like the Double Dragon commercial or whatever.
Yeah. Pablo was in the house as well. Who had more releases, Texas Chainsaw or Evil Dead? I would say Evil Dead, probably.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much that has more releases than Evil Dead.
There was one batch of Evil Dead that was like 5 different copies in one. Like there was 5 different versions of one release that Anchor Bay did back in the day.
Uh-oh, we got Canadian.
Josh Willard is in the house. Mr. Bones. Wet Movie is saying that I've got a Kevin Smith vibe going on tonight. We'll get into that a little bit later.
That's so cute.
I'd rather be Kevin Smith than Fred Durst. That's the other alternative, but we'll talk about that later on tonight. Yeah, I mean, guys, I want to, let's see, we got a super chat, and then we'll get rolling, because I can't keep up, bulls. I cannot keep up with this chat. But
You
keep
guys
going.
are hyped right now. I love it.
Michael Paul wants to know, he's interested in our thoughts on the commentaries on the different releases. Hooper and Hanson's from the Laserdisc is my favorite. We're definitely going to be talking about the Laserdisc. All right. So, what this is, and keep them rolling, bulls. We'll get your comments when we can. The history of Texas Chainsaw Massacre on not only, it used to be just DVD and Blu-ray, right? No, we're going all the way back on this one. We're going VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, and even 4K. There's a couple of different 4K releases that, and one in particular I know that we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail. But before we get rolling on here, briefly, let's go through each of our initial experience. When did we first check out the first movie, do you remember? Do you guys remember the circumstances there? How old you were and stuff like that?
Yeah. You want me to start?
Go for it.
All right, it's an interesting one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not the whole movie, but the name and the movie itself. I was actually introduced at a real young age. I mean, I'm going probably like 7, 8. My uncle, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is a huge, huge horror fan. He's been since, I don't even know how long, his whole life, basically. And he's been collecting and stuff like that. So he started getting me into, he was trying to get me into horror at a young age. And I remember going to my grandmother's house, which he was living at the time. I mean, he's probably only about 15 years older than me. And I can remember him showing me Texas Chainsaw Massacre and my dad walking in and being like, no, take this off. And I got as far as Hitchhiker. And that kind of was burned in my brain for so long. Like the scenes that I remember was Hitchhiker when he said, I think we picked up Dracula, because then in my head I'm thinking like that was Dracula for some reason, like because I'm a little kid, I'm like, wait, this is Dracula. Pick up Dracula, and then I always remember the scene of Franklin in the wheelchair like peeing and getting pushed down like the side of the road. Like those are the two parts that stuck with me forever. So as soon as I got to a little bit older, my uncle started giving me a lot of his VHS tapes because he had recently moved on to DVD at the time, and so the media one was the one that I got from him, and that was the first time I watched it. I was probably in high school at the time, and I fell in love with it, and it was one of those movies that to me it's like the quintessential horror movie. And man, I was showing all my friends and stuff back then because it was just something I really loved, and I just think everything about it just works, and it's hard to replicate that now, as we will go on and talk about later on.
Yeah, I mean, it's one movie that I think more so than any other horror film is like lightning in a bottle. Like they'll never, ever be able to replicate that movie in any way, no matter how many times they try. I actually saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 first, and I was probably about, when did that movie come out? 86. So I was probably 8, 9 years old, something like that. It was on home video, and I can remember like, my dad thought it was fucking hilarious, especially all the stuff with the hitchhiker in that one. And so like we watched those scenes like over and over and over again, like all the stuff at the radio station and all that. And like, so that was my first kind of experience. So I don't know, but I think I didn't watch the original one until I was in high school. I was probably 16. So I think I expected it to be something like more like part 2. And like, I don't know exactly what I was thinking it would be. But the first time I watched it, I was kind of disappointed because it wasn't gory and it wasn't, anything like part 2 and how insane that movie was with the Savini effects and things like that. Mm-hmm. So it was only when I got older, like probably into my 20s, and I watched it like over and over and over again that I started to really appreciate it. Like you start to pick up on a lot of stuff in that movie that you don't notice when you first see it.
Uncle Bill's got a little princess there, Uncle Bill. What you got?
Well, I'm on dog duty. So.
Oh, great.
Look at this.
Look at that little leather face.
Come on. Kick your ass.
That dog is fully grown too, probably.
Hey, no.
It's like 2 years old. So my experience was very similar to Garrett's. What had happened was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 had just come out on video, and we had just got the VCR. We hadn't had the VCR very long. My dad had the bright idea of getting part 1 and part 2, which he had never seen. Oddly enough, he'd never seen the first movie up to this point. And he got through maybe halfway through the hitchhiker scene and turned it off. It messed with him too much. Later on that night, I watched the rest of it, and it was always one of those movies too that, God, my dad couldn't even watch this movie. This is some hardcore shit, And I don't even remember seeing the second movie. That I don't even know if I watched it that initial, night that we rented those. But that was my very first memory of those movies, and that like I said, that was probably 1987, I guess, and that's stuck with me ever since.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk more about that, but yeah, very similar to me. And I just remember when I knew I could, I was able to, like, my parents weren't ever into horror. That's the thing. Like, parents weren't at all. My uncle was the one that Texas Chainsaw and Friday 3 are the two movies I remember as a kid that he tried to show me. And my dad was basically like, turn it off, you know, and don't show him that. But when I actually did watch it for the first time, man, you know, when you get those scenes that just stick with you for so long, that first appearance of Leatherface where he opens that freaking thing and then slams it shut, man, that's one of those horror movie moments that I'll never ever forget. And it like, you know, it just made like shivers down my spine that first time I saw it. It was just unreal. Just the way it happened, it was just so like sudden. There wasn't a lot of like, it was kind of a jump scare for its time, but it wasn't such a build. It just kind of happened, and then all of a sudden you're like, what the hell just happened, you know? And definitely something that stuck with me for a long time.
It's one of those movies too that just seems like it flies by. Like it just, what is it like? Maybe not even 90 minutes. I don't know. It's a little bit under 90 minutes, and it just flows. Like, I mean, it's like one of those type of movies. But let's get into the first release, because we've reviewed this movie to death. I mean, I think we're going to be doing more in-depth review of part 2. Our buddy Anthony actually requested that, so we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I mean, who the fuck hasn't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 at this point? Really?
Right.
All you guys. So we're going to start with the VHS tape. I cannot believe this. I was looking this up on eBay today. One of these tapes, opened, used, loved, sold for over $1,000 on eBay. It was bidded up to $1,000. So this was the very first VHS release, I believe. I don't think that there was anything else before this. And the interesting thing is, I was looking this up too. Wizard Video, who's one of the pioneers definitely of home video in the early days, released a CED disc of this, a Betamax, and a VHS. And from what I could find out, this one is from 1981. And it used the same artwork as there was an Atari game that came out as well that had very similar artwork. This is got a protective case on this thing.
That's a money item right there, man. That's a killer item.
Yeah, Wizard Video. It has the collectors love to know, does it have all of the flaps? Yes, it does.
I love his VHS collectors. This shit. Oh, that's great.
Because, the deal was with early days of VHS, they didn't have the opening down here. It was all flapped out, Uncle Bill.
You gotta get them mud flaps. Put them mud flaps back in.
So, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what the CED and the Betamax would go for. But this is the VHS, the very first release of this, I think, anywhere on home video. So, and I lucked out into getting this back in the day. I've probably had it for about a little bit over 10 years. And that was 1981 from what I could find.
1981.
That's killer, man. That's awesome.
That's amazing. So that wasn't out on anything until 81. I guess that was right around the time when fucking VHS really started, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, VHS, I think some of the first VCRs was in the mid to late 70s.
Where at least it became like mainstream somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, and it was mainly a rental business at the time, too. So this doesn't look like a rental copy either, which is weird. I mean, it has... No. I don't know, but the deal is, these things... There's one of them that's sealed, that's on there and graded on eBay. There's a guy that is... Look it up. It's on there right now. Over $300,000. On eBay.
I love that idea,
yeah. I mean, hell, it is what it is.
You need to get that graded, though, and just put it up there for like $20,000, see what happens.
S'mores indoor. Hey, if it was sealed, I definitely would get it graded, for sure. Yeah. But, I mean, overall, like, there's a video that I posted back when I got it. It's in really good shape. I don't know. I'd got it through somebody through the show that was just wanting to sell it, and I was like, holy shit. I think I gave him $20 for it.
That was before the VHS boom.
Yeah, I think that was around the time when people were just kind of...
Yeah, we'll get into that when it gets over to me, yeah.
There was a period of time, though. There really was, right? Like, early 2000s, things like that, where people really didn't give that much of a shit about VHS.
No,
And
no.
like you could buy all that stuff super cheap. And Jesus Christ, if you had it now, man, Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even like a lot of the stuff. See, the big thing back then was if it was on DVD, nobody gave a shit about the VHS.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was like, whatever. But now, all that stuff's worth some money. So it's.
Well, somebody brought up the video game too. I don't think any of us have that.
No, I do not.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Atari.
No, that's
game.
another one. That's a high dollar item right there for sure.
It is a piece of shit though. I've seen like playthroughs of it and everything. Like a lot of videos.
Do you remember when they were doing NECA was doing the video game figures like based on the game? So like I have Jason, I have a Freddy one, and they did a Leatherface one, and I was like, "What's up, guys? Thank you."
This technology, man, I'm loving it.
I can remember when I saw the Texas Chainsaw one for the Atari game, and I was like, "Oh, sweet, I'll get that." And I like opened the flap to just see what it looks like. It was just fucking painted green with like a fucking brown head. I was like,
"That's one that I never got because like I just could not."
I agree. Yeah,
get behind that at all. Like I've got the Nightmare on Elm Street one over here on the wall, and I've got like the Friday 13th one, but I never got the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one.
It's like fucking green with a brown head.
We got another super duper chat from Dirk Jason Hall, $5. Appreciate it, man. He said that hook scene I couldn't watch the first time. Texas Chainsaw Massacre pulled my brain out, smashed it up, and I had to put what was left back in when I was 8 years old in '85.
Yeah, man. And they don't even show anything in any of those scenes. That's the amazing part.
Yeah. So, I don't think we have any more VHSs of part one. There's one in particular that I know was the one that we rented back in the day. And I think that Garrett has that artwork.
I got this. Oh, does anybody get the super duper big box? Look at this.
Ooh.
Super duper big box. No, you don't have that.
So
what the hell even is that?
Super duper big box. Look. Video.
That'd be awesome if it just had a giant VHS tape in it.
Like, what's in it, though? Is it like a candy bar or something? Like one of them big fucking...
This shirt was in it, actually.
Oh, okay.
It was Fright Rags deal or something.
Yeah,
right?
Fright Rags did. I was like, dude, I can't. So, yeah, that was the one I had. I had the media home video one with this cover, and that was like what I always knew. And for whatever reason, I also had the poster. I don't know if it came with it, but I had this poster on my wall and growing up in high school, and I had that tape, which I was like so in love with, but I did that big purge of, I think it was 07 or 08, I believe, of my VHS collection because I was getting so many DVDs. I was like, I needed the space. I was still living at home, so I purged everything pretty much. I think I only have like 10% left for like, dude, I sold them for nothing, man. And that's one of those things I always talk about. I regret so much is that I let those things go for what I did. Like I must have sold a couple hundred horror tapes for like, I think $80 for like probably 300 tapes or something. So
that's a box of leather flakes.
Leather flakes.
What a great name for a cereal.
Dude, you know what? You might have just made a shirt right there.
Leather flakes.
Yeah, we're starting to invest in these T-shirts. So,
but I think it's shit like that though. That's the reason why, like, we mostly keep everything.
I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of this shit that I definitely would love to get rid of. But it's just that idea that maybe, like, it'll go up, like, a bunch later or something. Like,
I agree with you. Like, did you ever think VHS would be what they are? I mean, you couldn't get those for anything. And I built my collection for a while, like, on buying VHS because they were so dirt cheap. Like, these like Blockbuster and Hollywood Video that were changing everything over to DVD, you'd go in there and it'd be like $1 a tape or something. And I used to just go nuts and just get everything I could horror. And man, I had so much cool stuff. I had like a Frankenhooker that like would talk and stuff. And I can't believe that I sold a lot of that stuff away. And you know, DVD, you kind of think to yourself, man, that can't be worth anything someday. But you know, you're hesitant about getting rid of a lot of that stuff because, like, what if all of a sudden these rumors of, like, Blu-ray disc rot and all that shit are true? Like, in 20 years, if everybody's Blu-rays are, like, destroyed, like, with rot, and the only thing that still survived was, like, a DVD, are those going to be sought after? I don't know. So
that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, I mean, what's to say, you know, that the DVDs and things like that, like, who knows? Because nobody thought VHS was going to be worth a shit. Like, I
You
mean,
know why
after
though
DVD
too? Like the kids that grew up in that era, when they get old enough to, that's what they watched those movies on for the first time. Hey, the first time I saw Texas Chainsaw 2 was on that MGM DVD that literally nobody gives a fuck about at this point. But in 10 years, who knows? $50 on eBay.
Yeah,
And you know what, too? We're going to go through some stuff here that I think, at the end of the day, people out of nostalgic reasons, even in this chat, because I think us three at the very least right now, DVD was like me. That was like the big time. Like that's when like my collecting was at its peak. That's I had the most of. Like I still do. I mean, I had thousands and thousands of DVDs. Blu-ray, I'm like upgrading, catching up, but my collection was mainly DVD for so long. And a couple of these editions I think we're going to show, I think are going to be pretty nostalgic for people that maybe someday might be worth something because they were limited and they were just very different than what we're getting now. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening.
So before DVD, and it was really kind of a gateway for me to get, it got me more hardcore into horror in the late 90s, early 2000s, would be Laserdisc. I only have a handful of those Laserdiscs left. That's another item that I probably should have hung on to because all those are going up as well. Other than this one and a couple of signed ones, that's pretty much it. But I'm glad I kept this one because this is a killer release. This is the Elite Entertainment 2-disc Laserdisc. Now, this was from 1996.
So that would have been Don May, right?
Idea. Yeah, this was the company Don May worked for before Synapse Films.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is I can't believe that I still have it in the original sleeve because I'm kind of weird about that sort of thing. But it's from Laser Blazer in, I think, in Los Angeles, California. And it still has the price tag and everything on it. It's $29.98. But anyway, these a lot of times these had like a gatefold on them. Mm-hmm. And
yeah. See, that's the beauty thing about those is they're basically like albums. I mean, they're a lot more displayable than VHS or DVD or anything like that.
Yeah, and they had tons of special features on this. Someone mentioned earlier the commentary with Hooper, Gunnar Hansen, and Daniel Pearl is on there. You got 30 minutes of deleted scenes and outtakes, blooper reels. 1996.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Jesus,
it's nuts. Man, I feel like I never collected Laserdiscs. I don't even have a Laserdisc player. It was one of those things. I went from VHS to DVD. To me, I don't know why. I don't know if it was just too expensive. I don't know if it was just more of like a niche collector's market. So to me, like Laserdiscs are pretty foreign to me. I have a Lost Boys one that I just had just to complete a collection. But that's about it. So that's pretty sweet, man. They're beautiful looking and they're just so unique. And you can store so many, in such a small area, which I think is also, as a collector, really cool,
Another interesting aspect that I wanted to mention on here, too, is the disc was done by Elite Entertainment. They were like the only company that were doing these great special edition, treatment. They did Night of the Living Dead. I think they did a couple of Nightmare on Elm Street movies. They did a lot back in the day. But they did not own Texas Chainsaw Massacre back then. MPI, basically Dark Sky Films, before they were Dark Sky Films, is on the back of this Laserdisc. So I don't know if they, at one point in time, did they just buy Texas Chainsaw Massacre outright? Because they've had it for, this was 1996. Man.
So like, Jesus, almost 30 years. Yeah. Well, somebody said it'd be hilarious if Laserdisc made a comeback. Didn't we talk to Don May about that? And he was basically like, listen, like he tried to get Laserdisc made as like kind of a collector's edition, and there's no company that does that anymore whatsoever, basically.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty sweet, though.
The machines, the replicators, or whatever made Laserdiscs, they were all destroyed, I think, probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But when I got into Laserdiscs, though, a lot of these companies it was like fire sales online. So I know I've got one back there hanging up. You can't see it from here, but of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, which is, that Laserdisc goes for quite a bit of money now, right? They were $3 brand new fire sale when I got that back in the day. So they were basically giving them away. And that's how I got into it pretty hard.
You could buy Laserdisc cheap as hell around like with the time we started the show, maybe a little bit earlier than that, but I mean everything has become like infinitely more collectible apparently now.
Yeah, they're valuable now, those Laserdiscs, because I've looked into a couple. Which, do you have another one to show us or no?
No, I know that I think you've got one though.
Yeah, so basically, like I said, I wasn't a Laserdisc collector. I don't really have any Laserdiscs, but my uncle does, and he was really into the niche as well when it came to the Laserdisc game, and so he has boxes upon boxes of stuff. So I actually ran over there today just to be like, hey, we're doing a show tonight. What do you got? And he had this, and I don't know anything about it, guys, but if anybody else does, it's a Japanese import Laserdisc for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know what this has on it as far as if it's different than than what Wes has. I'm trying to just see it. It doesn't look like it's got any kind of special gatefold. It just basically looks like an album.
It may have a year on it.
This was it's all in Japanese, or it says
I can't tell you the year.
I can't read it. It says
well, the
Pioneer,
year should
though.
be. I think the years would be this. Well, maybe not. I don't know.
No,
it's been a while since I've deciphered Japanese. I do know that Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
We can't decipher Japanese anymore.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre was huge in Japan, though. I mean, that was.
Yeah, as evidenced by the fucking like wrestling craze with leather faces. Yeah.
Right, but if you I was just doing some eBay searches. There's at least 3 or 4 different Laserdisc. Now, Laserdisc was a lot bigger in Japan anyway, but there's at least 3 or 4 different Laserdiscs that came out in Japan, and that was one of them. So, and another interesting thing though about the one that, and it may be the same transfer, I'm not sure. So for the longest time, we may be talking about him in a little bit. I don't know. But for the longest time, that Laserdisc was the best transfer that you could get in the United States. Even before, there was something about Pioneer used the wrong transfer on their first. We talked to Don May about it years and years ago. They used the wrong transfer, and the Laserdisc was the only one for the longest time that had that remastered transfer on it. So if you wanted to see Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the best quality in 1996 through 2000 and what would have been 2004, that Laserdisc was the only way.
I didn't know that.
I'm just amazed
Pretty
though.
cool.
I mean, how much shit Don May Jr. was doing, like back in the back before even like Blu-ray or DVD or anything like that. I mean, that guy was way ahead of his time.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Laserdiscs were huge, and Laserdisc basically was the predecessor to DVD. It was the same technology, but they perfected it a little bit, made it a little bit more compact. You couldn't decapitate somebody with a DVD like you could a Laserdisc.
I actually prefer that, though. I mean, I actually prefer the look of Laserdisc to Blu-ray or DVD or anything like that. I mean, it would be awesome if that kind of still kept going. I mean, I understand why it didn't, but it's kind of like the album versus CD thing. Like, I mean, CDs they're compact, they're whatever, but like they're not good collector's items. And I don't think DVDs are good collector's items either. I don't think they hold up. I mean, Garrett, you said before, like you can't really display them. I mean, what the fuck are you going to do with them at some point? But you could definitely display Laserdisc.
Yeah, I mean, you could. They sell frames that for albums, so the Laserdisc would be the same way. I have albums framed up here, signed and stuff like that. So Laserdisc you could do the same exact thing, and I think there's a lot of, I don't know, it's just one of those things where it wouldn't be a bad thing to kind of collect in a way and just have on the side. Like I said, my uncle's got such a gigantic collection, and he's got Laserdisc players like coming out the ass, and I'm hoping that I can maybe score one. And then I've never actually seen a Laserdisc. I've never watched anything on laser ever. So it would be interesting to kind of check it out for the first time.
Yeah, I would say it looks like some of the early DVDs is what Laserdisc looks like. Now there's some towards the end of the lifespan that are great. There's still people that that kind of swear by them. I think there's one cut of Scream that's only out on Laserdisc that never came out on DVD.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, everybody always talks about. Yeah.
And then there's there's a few different ones. I'm going to go through some comments here real quick, and then we'll get into. I think we got DVD, right? That would be the next
DVD's
one.
next. Yep.
Rob Zilla, who's more annoying from Texas Chainsaw? Is it Franklin from Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Joey from Friday the 13th: A New Beginning?
Joey.
I never saw Franklin as that annoying, really. I mean, I know he was supposed to be.
I just think he was a pretty fucking realistic character.
Yeah.
That he was completely dependent on Sally and everything, and he was just constantly.
He's the one that always, he's always the one that gets shit on in the movie too.
I like when he goes and he spits at that.
Yeah.
He gets attacked by the hitchhiker. He's trying to piss in that coffee can and fucking rolls down the hill.
When he rolls down the hill and that. That noise he makes is the best thing ever.
Yeah, Franklin's cool. Like I said, him and Hitchhiker were the only two things I remembered as a 6 or 7 year old.
Spookhouse Plastic. I called directory assistance and got Jim Sedow's number when I was in high school back in the late 90s. Called him up and he couldn't have been nicer. Now, I've got a couple stories about not him, but some people. We've interviewed a lot of people. Well, a few people from the movie, and they have all been great. And we just hit 100 people on here, by the way.
Yes. I'll say this, though.
Thumbs up the videos, too. Thumbs them up.
I'll say this for sure, though. Like, I think the cook is my favorite character in Texas Chainsaw now. Like, I don't even know how you would go about a performance like that. Because, like, he legitimately seems insane. Like, out of all those guys, like, just the way that he is, like, he goes from, like, 0 to 100, like, from being completely normal to being completely insane, like, really quickly. And just some of the shit that he says is, like, it's a perfect performance, really.
So, yeah, keep those comments coming and stuff, and we're going to get into the DVD. I think
I got the first one here.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know what year this is, but this was a Pioneer, very standard edition here. Very kind of bare bones. Didn't really have anything on here besides a blooper reel. And that's really it, some trailers. I'm trying to see when this came out. This was in 98. This came out. So I don't know, when did DVDs come out? Like, what I think I started collecting in 98, 99. If I can recall.
I think in 97 is when they first came out, because Anchor Bay was the first company that was making like genre stuff. And I remember the first Dawn of the Dead came out in 97, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I've got the first Dawn of the Dead somewhere in here. I can remember, though, seeing that particular disc at, like, Disc Jockey in Lexington. Like, that's one of the, few, like, DVD/CD places that we had around here that we would go to. And, like, that, I remember that particular DVD.
And there were a few Pioneer discs that they would do.
Yeah.
Different covers, and I know there's one special edition that you definitely wanted to show on here, Garrett, that I've seen.
I think this was the next one, because I remember for me, this, and my uncle and I were really excited when this thing was announced. And I can remember the first day it came out, I was like right at the store that Tuesday. And, that was back when these kind of movies were hitting Best Buy and all that stuff on a Tuesday. And what's cool is it actually has a little slippy. So I know what happened was, so this image here is what is on another edition. But look here. So this you'll know, because this actually is a fold out, and then you flip this around and you've got that meat packing edition. So this was a very limited thing where it looks like ground beef, and it says fresh after 30 years, Pioneer Texas Chainsaw Massacre special limited edition, and then you take it out and it's got the
It's one of those
embossed meat.
plastic cases too, right?
Yeah,
The
it's
hard
like
plastic.
it is. Yeah, it's like one of those plastic cases.
So that
Like
was
a Sega
big.
CD.
That was big in the early days.
Yeah, so then it's got so it's clear, so it's got like an image on the back of Leatherface and stuff. It's got like the little booklet. But yeah, I always love this edition, and this is one of those things that I feel like someday could be worth something just because the uniqueness of this, like it looks like a slab of ground beef that you'd get at the grocery store. And my uncle and I always thought this was just so badass, and I can remember getting this first time. You can see it embossed. Look at that. You can feel it. You can feel the burger.
Very difficult to find that in good shape. I've seen it a few times used, but it's always been messed up, man. And I never did get it because of that. It's one of those deals where you have to pretty much buy it new, probably.
Yeah, I absolutely still love that edition. Not even just, I don't know about the quality. I don't even remember what the special features are, but just the idea of it alone was just so different and unique that I loved it. But yeah, this does have a little bit more special features. I'm afraid to kind of mess with it because I don't want this to break, but
Well, this
that
is
was
the
one I wanted to talk about.
This is the other edition you were talking about. It's just a
Yeah,
standard
I got that particular edition. Yeah.
DVD case, and
I mean, it could be the same disc in there. It just maybe is a different. Let me check mine.
it probably is.
It probably is exact same. This was just probably like the limited one. Yeah, it's the same disc.
So this
yeah, I
one,
think this was the same one.
I can go through the extras real quick. It looks like it's the same commentary that was on the Laserdisc. They've got the deleted scenes, the blooper reel, TV spots, trailers, and all that. Now, the Laserdisc did have a better transfer than these Pioneer ones. That's what I mentioned before. Now, we're at 1998, and this would be a good time to mention that at this time, in the UK, Australia, all those countries, you could not see this. This was not on DVD. This had never played theatrically. Wasn't on video. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre had not received any sort of release and would not, I think, until like 2000, 2002, something like that, which is insane. That is totally crazy. But I guess they bootleg shit. I don't know. I don't know how that would go. But I thought that was interesting. I guess it was one of the video nasties.
It's really bizarre too if you think about that movie. It should not be in that list, like at all. There's nothing explicit in that movie whatsoever.
Well, it may not be video nasties, but it was banned, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was actually a part of that, but
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
but yeah, I mean, not until it was early 2000s, I think, until they got the first DVD release over there in the United Kingdom. That's kind of fun. So moving on, we do have the most releases from Texas Chainsaw, the first movie. So
Yeah, what else you got? I've got for the first movie on a DVD. I've got one more. What do you got, Wes? And,
I have a particular steelbook. Is that what you got?
that's the one I have. Yeah.
Okay.
This one.
So yeah,
Look at how pretty that is.
we definitely need to put this thing over because I don't know if fans nowadays, or horror movie fans, basically what I'm saying, get the importance of this because it had been, what was it, 8 years. This came out in 2004. I think it came out in
2006.
2006. So 10
Double
years.
disc.
Yeah. This was like a grail for horror fans to have back in the day. This was the first time that we got to see it remastered. Don May Jr. himself took it, worked on this thing. And I'm hoping whenever they do it again, which is probably in a couple of years, they'll let him touch it up even more.
That was like the big thing to get back then. I remember like that and Dawn of the Dead were the two, like they were on par like equally in terms of like releases that people were waiting for. I've still got the sale sheet. I don't know where the hell I got it. Like it might have been a screener. I don't know if it was a screener, if it was from like a convention or something but like the sale sheet that went with that particular DVD. Mm-hmm. And that was the one, like that was the one everybody wanted. And I think that had to be a great seller for them at the time.
Still to this day, man. I mean, we're what, 15, 16 years later.
Yeah.
This is a killer. Like, honestly, they don't. I know they make steelbooks and stuff like this, but man, this is just, I don't know.
The shine.
Did
Just
that have
great release?
Did that have the documentary on it? The
It's got a lot of stuff. It's
family
got
portrait one on
Yeah,
it?
it's got Shocking Truth is on it, Flesh Wounds. There's another one that's on Voodoo. I don't think it's on there.
well, it's it doesn't have that. It has those, but the Shocking Truth. But it's funny that Uncle Bill just brought that up. I wasn't sure where I was going to throw this in there, but I'll jump it in now. So when I went to my uncle's as well and grabbed that Laserdisc, he had this laying around, and I had never seen it nor own it. It's a VHS tape of the family portrait documentary.
Huh. I've never fucking seen that.
That looks homemade almost.
Yeah.
It's like weird, yeah. Like it's just the Texas Chainsaw Massacre documentary. It was put out by Doornail Films.
That looks like some shit that like I would make on my computer at home or something.
So he had this, and I had never seen this edition, so I was like, okay, I'll take it, dude, and talk about it. But yeah,
it's like the Great Literature Classics edition. You know those books that when you were in like middle school, that's what it looked like.
But yeah, I figured I'd throw that in because
amazing.
that's not on any of these that we've talked about so far. That documentary. So yeah, and you know what else is funny is I do believe that this was a very beginning of steelbooks, because I remember the first steelbook that I had ever gotten that I've never seen the word steelbook, felt the steelbook, was the Grindhouse ones. They were like a Best Buy exclusive, and it was the first time I had ever seen a steelbook ever. And I don't know if those were the first. But
No, those would have been after. Those would have been after this one, because that was in, those movies were 2007.
Yeah, but this came out in 08. Oh, wait.
Didn't you say 2006?
Oh, yeah, 2006. Yeah, that's weird, huh?
I still have those steelbooks too, by the way.
Yeah, that literally
Those are
was the
badass,
first steelbooks
yeah.
I had. So I'm surprised. I would have swore they were earlier than this, but yeah, I still kept those too, because that was like, those was money.
If anybody in the chat knows, let us know as far as those steelbooks. What was the first steelbook that you can recall? Was there any prior to 2006?
If you have them, we put them in a plastic case and we say steelbook rookies, and then we sell them for big money.
Yeah, you gotta have the cases and shit now.
Hey, here's what we can do. We can start grading steelbooks.
Ooh.
Right.
Just don't buy them from Best Buy's website, because they always have like a slice in them, like the dude that's
Get some of those acrylic
splashes all
cases.
over.
Dude, there's another company that's grading VHSDNA.com or something like that. They're like $100 and some an item. Like they're even more expensive.
Jesus.
Man, I just don't know who the people are that are spending $300,000 on a freaking graded VHS. Like, where are these people that just have like $100,000, $80,000 just throw down, $20,000 for a VHS? But
Phantasm Matt says that is the first steelbook he remembers as well, as Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Here's what it's like. I'm saying though, with people that spend all that money on VHS, like, what the fuck would you do with it? Nobody's going to be impressed by that unless you find somebody that's, like a maniacal fucking VHS collector. Like, I don't even understand.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but I mean, I just think people now, like, there's a lot of younger people now that are into these movies. This was in Best Buy. This is where I got this at, was in Best Buy. And they had multiple copies, right? Who could imagine now? But yeah, this was hot. There was a few releases around the same time that were highly sought after. It hadn't been out in a long time. Everybody had those crappy Pioneer, which, I mean, by crappy, I mean the transfer, Mm-hmm. We'd never seen this really cleaned up that well, aside from the Laserdisc, which was 10 years old at that point. Mm-hmm. So this was a big, big release. This was maybe one of the biggest ones for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, that was the one that I remember that everybody was like freaking out when that got announced and released. And it actually put Dark Sky on the map, really. Like, I don't remember anybody talking about Dark Sky Films before that fucking movie came out, or that particular edition came out.
Now, one of the biggest gets that we got back in the day, Texas Chainsaw Massacre wise, is we were one of the first to get to interview Terry McMinn when she come out of her, played Pam in the movie, came out of her hiding there for decades.
When she came to get the money. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to Michael Slipcase Felcher. Yeah. So we move on to the Blu-ray version of the same release, which features a brand new interview that Michael Felcher did with Terry McMinn called Off the Hook.
Yeah. And that was huge around that time. I remember like when he set all that shit up and he was like working with her and like that was the big one where people were like, I don't think people remember this, but like at one time or another, like not everybody was doing conventions or doing interviews, things like that. There's a lot of people like that just nobody had heard from since the fucking movie came out, really. And she was like one of the big ones too. There was a lot of talk about her like being ashamed of the movie and not wanting to be associated with it or have anything to do with it, and that was probably true until she found out she could make money off of it.
And this one right here was 2008, so this was 2 years after the Steelbook and still very early on for Blu-rays. MPI, aka Dark Sky Films, they were one of the very first companies that adopted that format pretty early on. I think they did Faces of Death. I know Felcher worked on that one as well. There was like a Paul Naschy double feature. There's a few, and there wasn't a whole lot of companies doing classic horror stuff that early on. I think Anchor Bay did as well, but it's kind of Anchor Bay and Dark Sky.
Yeah, I look at the Anchor Bay, like Dawn of the Dead thing is the same way I look at those. Like you had the one single disc edition that was around forever but sold out and like you couldn't find, and then you had the friggin' Ultimate Edition that finally came out. It's kind of the same scheme.
Yeah, it definitely was. I had that Blu-ray, the first Texas Chainsaw one that was basically a mimic of the Steelbook, and I thought it was good, but to me that felt like a placeholder because I had the Steelbook and I had that, and it was just so similar. Besides, the quality might have been a little bit different. But I think what we're going to kind of jump onto next is where I really got excited in the Blu-ray world for this film, because this is when Dark Sky, didn't they release a bunch of Texas Chainsaw Massacres at once, and basically was like, oh, choose which version you want. Remember that? It was like, there's a 1 disc, 2 disc, 3 disc, which then there was one that everybody wanted that you couldn't get. They did this weird thing where you had to kind of choose which version you wanted, and it was a real big toss-up. I think it was for the 40th anniversary, and, you weren't sure as a collector which one you kind of wanted. So I don't know what you guys have, but I know the one I picked up out of the bunch, and I did only get one. I know a couple people got every version of it, but I just grabbed one. Do you guys remember that whole thing?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
That was what, 2012, 2013, something like that.
It seems like a few years ago, but time now, man, is nuts because we're talking it's probably 10 years ago. To me, it feels like 5,
I'm seeing 2014 on the one that I have. Okay. I think I have one of the ones you're talking about. 40th anniversary, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the big one, I don't think any of us have this. Maybe Garrett has it. Is the Black Maria set? Well,
that came out later. Was
that later?
Yeah, okay. That was the next wave for this movie, and I definitely want to talk about that. But here's what I got in the bunch. So the only ones I remember was there one with him running in the field, and it was a light greenish blue case. I think you have it, Wes. Yeah, so that was one of the mix. That's a Dark Sky, correct?
Yep, they're all Dark Sky.
Now, how many discs is that? 40th anniversary?
That's just one disc, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. The one I grabbed was this one.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
And then you would open the door.
Yep.
And you've got this inside.
I've got that in there somewhere. I remember that one too. Now.
And then what you can do is you can flip it, and then you can have Leatherface in the front.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
But
I think that was the deluxe version.
Yeah, this was the big one that everybody wanted, but I don't remember what. And it's cool. Look at some of the images in here, man. Killer. Sally.
Jason Hall does have a good idea. Hit the damn like button. Fuck.
Do it. Actually, you know what?
While you're here, just hit it.
This has. Look at this. 4 discs, dude.
Holy shit.
I don't remember all that shit. Jesus.
So are there different cuts of the movie or all the documentaries and all that?
You know what it is? It's feature film, bonus disc, and then the same thing but a DVD version.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was really the only difference there. But yeah, that was the one I ended up grabbing out of the bunch, and it's a real cool edition. It had a ton of stuff on here, but I thought there was a third one out of the choices, but I don't remember what it was. I just remember going to the store and being like, "Well, which one do I get?" And I think I had to go to a couple different places, or maybe I had to order online to get this one because I think that was the one that was hardest to find.
I think this one right here I got used somewhere for like $4 or something, right? Because I've got this movie like on every. This is one of those movies that I'll rewatch it at least once a year, once every other year, and I buy every version that I see of it if I don't have it. I don't know why, really, because Texas Chainsaw is one of those movies too where I honestly like it works when it looks really like cruddy and all that too. Like me and Uncle Bill got to see it. I think it was one of the Scare Fest. They did a 35 millimeter screening. That 35 millimeter print was beat to shit. Yeah. I mean, it was.
But it's still. I think it works better that way. Really.
Yeah.
Like if it just looks like that's the way I remember first watching it. Was it just looked like shit and it was all like dark and grainy and stuff. I think somehow or another that particular movie, like that's the best way to watch that movie. I mean, they fixed it up and things now, and they've got like editions where they've cleaned it up. But I don't know. You can watch that on probably VHS, and it would be amazing.
It's an idea that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I don't know how you guys feel, and I'm kind of just touching upon kind of what you just said. As a collector for so long, and becoming kind of almost very picky on certain things that I buy now. It's weird because in one aspect I'm very picky, like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to upgrade this to 4K. I have the Blu-ray. It's not going to be worth the extra space, this and this. But for certain movies, Texas Chainsaw being one, Halloween being one, Dawn of the Dead being one, Evil Dead even, any edition that I come across, no matter what format, if I don't own it, I usually pick it up. Like you said, even if it's more or less used, or if I scroll eBay and see a Texas Chainsaw edition that I don't have, I'll grab it just to have it. I don't know why. Why do I need 10 Texas Chainsaw Massacres? But there's just a group of movies that for some reason I'm like, you know what, I wouldn't mind owning every edition at some point. So I don't know if you guys feel the same way. As much as I'm talking about I don't want to waste my money and upgrade. I'm like, there's plenty of times where I'm doing that. But it's I'm not going to do it unless I find these dirt cheap or something like that. But I don't know if you guys feel that the same way about anything like that.
I mean, if I see something cheap enough in a Goodwill, I'm going to get it. I did say no to, they had an extra copy that I could have just given away of Hostel at the Goodwill for $1. And,
well, that's not one of my ones that I'm buying everything.
No.
What was the other one? It was,
Captivity.
Captivity. I didn't buy it. I don't own Captivity. So let's go through some questions real quick here. Have we seen any of the comics, Manic Exorcism? I have not.
Me either.
Jake Courtenhouse, the last release I got of Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the Dark Sky Blu-ray. Much like the Evil Dead and Halloween, which Anchor Bay released 1 million times. Can't justify spending more cash on it. Oh, Curly Jaws is wanting to know if we still have, I think me and Uncle Bill both still have the OG Texas Chainsaw Massacre poster signed.
That's so killer, dude. Your Texas Chainsaw poster, that sign is beauty.
It's right over there.
It's awesome.
John Cressip, he saw the 40th anniversary 4K remaster Texas Chainsaw in the theater in 2014. Got to speak with Ed Neal briefly. Couldn't think of a good question to ask, so asked was the dinner scene hot?
All right, so this just fucking jarred something in my memory that I hadn't thought about in forever.
I know what you're thinking of too. Yeah.
Do you remember what I'm thinking of? What was her name, man? Oh God. All right, so there was to give a backstory. There was a convention.
Fright Night.
Okay, Fright Night. It was the first Fright Night? It was either the first or the second Fright Night.
Second one, I think.
Okay, so
Tiffany Shepis was there with us.
Yeah, we all go, and this is at the height of DEADPIT. And somehow or another, we get seated with a bunch of celebrities. I guess at that point they thought we were horror celebrities. But I was right next to Ed Neal. And he was talking about, posters and things like that. Because I don't know if people know, but Ed Neal is like a huge poster dealer guy. Like he deals in like high-end movie posters and things like that. And we were just like, it was amazing because he was just talking about that, and he would talk some about the film. And I'm trying to remember who else was at that table. It was
that weird dude that used to accompany Tiffany to all the shows. He was there. You remember him?
Yeah.
And then I guess it was Ed Neal's wife that was with him, I think.
There was somebody else though. There was like one other like fairly known celebrity that was there, but
was it John Dugan?
No, Dugan was drunk on Heineken in his room. He wasn't coming out like doing any of that shit. But anyway, that was just a story that like.
Yeah, that reminded me too. I was like, yeah, we did have dinner with Ed Neal.
It might have been Sally Marilyn Burns. It might have been her, or one of them.
No, I don't think it may have. I don't know. Michael Berryman? Was it Michael Berryman?
No, it wasn't Michael Berryman. We'll fucking be trying to think of this for hours now.
I can remember a lot of people that were at that show, but
anyway, we had dinner with the hitchhiker. That's the point.
I always hated shit
which
like
was
that,
great.
by the way. I mean,
yeah, it's super uncomfortable.
It
like
cool,
it really is, yeah. Because we don't know them and they don't know us, and like it's a weird setting. Like you're having a dinner. Like you ever been at a dinner with a bunch of people you don't fucking know? Just imagine that, like, in and of itself. But it was great. I mean,
so the grand poobah of the night, as far as the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, would be the 4K edition. Or do you have any more, Garrett, Blu-ray?
Well, you know what? You were actually right. Talking about, because I remember there was a third edition to this, and I don't know if this is it, but when I just kind of opened up this thing, I saw this inside, and it says 40th anniversary, and it's the Black Maria set. So this might have been that third edition I was talking about when this came out, on which one to get. Now, I think what was going through my mind was there was really nothing different between this edition and the one that I showed, except that it came in this box, which was the truck. And I remember going
different
back and
artwork
forth.
on it.
Yeah, it did. It had a different cover art. It actually had it was pretty cool though. It's like Leatherface in the rearview mirror. And I remember passing on it because I was like, you know what, for the amount that I think it was in comparison to this 4-disc, I was like, it didn't have enough for me, especially because at that time, space was so important that I couldn't fit this truck anywhere to display it that would have made any sense. But I will say there was a point in time where this went really cheap. And I can remember like looking at it being like, oh, do I buy it? And I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to buy that again. I got all this. But when we were talking about, okay, now's, a lot of people have been asking us to do this show, and we were just kind of waiting for the right time. And we said, you know what, let's do it soon because the movie's coming out. And if we kind of coordinate it with that, I went on a little hunt, and I said, you know what, I'm going to buy this just for that show. And I didn't end up getting it just because I couldn't really justify buying it just to show on the show for the money that it's still going for. I mean, it's still going for above $50. And, and I just couldn't justify spending more than $40.
You could have just like right now. Bought it and then sent it back. This was the wrong item.
It was eBay. I think Amazon had it, but I think it was really expensive through a third party on Amazon. So I was like, eh. But if I found it for like under 50, I would have purchased it just to, like I said, just again, if it's Texas Chainsaw at this point, I'll try to get kind of everything. But now looking at it, it's a pretty cool edition. It's different, but at the time, I can remember kind of shitting on it because I'm like, it's a stupid cardboard truck that folds out. Like, I kind of wasn't having it, but now looking back on it, because it's just so unique, I wouldn't mind having it in the collection. But how about you guys? You guys did not get that either, right?
I can remember like explicitly like making fun of that edition when it came out.
Right.
We were just like, yeah, we were just like, man, like this is goddamn ridiculous. Because this was before like places like Severin and Vinegar Syndrome put out these editions with the bundles and shit. That, yeah. So that back then to us was like insane that they would want like all that money for a fucking truck.
Well, the truck is very insignificant in the movie too.
Yeah, it has no.
Yeah, I mean
it's not. But at the same time, I think you're right. But I think the uniqueness of that kind of makes it even more for me desirable. And I think the stupidest thing in there was like a bloody apron or whatever. Like, am I ever gonna wear that or do it? What am I gonna do with that? You know, it was like a bloody apron that you wear to like cook dinner with or whatever.
Well, you
like,
could pose with your chainsaw that you got and have your apron.
That's right.
I should. But yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that now. I don't know where I'd put it, but looking back on it, like you said, the Uncle Bill of today, if that popped on, let's say Severin, Texas Chainsaw 4K 4-disc in a truck, would you buy that? Right.
I was just thinking about that. I wish I had that now. Like I wish that I would have bought that when it came out. Yeah, because like we were a lot different then about shit like that, like and collecting and things like that too. So definitely.
I just think very large boxes that take up lots of room. Like I try to stay away from that shit just because I don't have room. I really don't. I've got stuff stacked over here, stuff stacked in the closet. My shelf is completely full. I'm out of room.
Yeah, that's why I didn't get that Evil Dead box. I mean, it's a nice looking edition, but number one, I own everything that's in it. So to me, I was just going to buy it for the box and to take up a lot of space. But yeah, with that being said, I know, UB, do you have an edition to show or no?
Well, I was wondering like when to show this because
I think right now would be.
Yeah, this is kind of a one-off, and it's the only foreign release we got on here.
Okay, so I got this from Michael Felsher back in the day when Michael Felsher was doing auctions where you could actually get shit that wasn't like $4,000. So this is a German edition of Texas Chainsaw, which I believe this is just DVDs, and it's probably one of the coolest. I don't know, like cases or whatever that I've got.
It's one of a kind, I think.
This is the version, and it says like DOS original something on it, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And you open it up, and it's like it's got the discs,
wow,
and some killer like artwork and stuff, and it's got several different like I guess the chains.
Now, how cool is that shit?
Yeah, man. Like I said, for me not having the space, I mean, that would still be something I would love to have, you know, and I don't know how I would display it or anything, but it's super cool. And do you know if you ever did a video on that back in the day or not? Because I can remember me seeing people.
I don't think I did. I mean, maybe we did maybe we did some
like
sort of
collector's or something.
Like that would be the one thing that I could see us doing. I never did one in particular for this edition though.
Because I've seen videos of that back in the day, and I remember saying to myself, "Damn, that would be so sweet to get that," and you know, da da da. And I don't know if it was you or maybe I watched it on somebody else's YouTube, but it could have been you at the time. I mean, if you guys don't know, one of my favorite DEADPIT videos of all time was that damn poster one. Like, I still go back to that sometimes and just watch it where you got called out or whatever. And
J-Dogs, DVD Dungeon.
I love that guy. And I remember watching that and being like, damn, like look at all those posters and stuff. And
we did like hop-up video for it too, like a wrestling promo or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
Here's the cool part about this though that I didn't even really notice until right now. This actually has the shocking truth, family portrait, interviews, deleted scenes, and like an interview with Ed, not an interview, but a documentary about Ed Gein on it.
Oh, Curly Jaws wants to throw you some money for it. You gonna sell it?
This actually probably has the most special features of any of the actual DVDs. This is just a DVD.
Well,
release.
It's funny you say that because I was just looking at all these, and this one that I have that's got a bunch of stuff on it. Like I haven't seen anything with the portrait on it yet, so I don't know if it's on it.
So
I gotta look, and
some of it's in German, but like some of it's not. It's got like the bonus features and stuff right there.
Sweet.
Yeah. Neil's wife. But are we going to 4K now? Is that what we're doing? Or are we going still blue?
Yeah, I think we need to start rolling through these too.
Yeah, I got one more blue though. This was it's not even open, guys. But again, it's Texas Chainsaw. Boom.
That's the only one I had too. Like that.
Best
nobody
exclusive. Haven't even opened. Is yours open? No.
No, mine's not fucking open.
Those are still at Best Buy too, by the way.
Yeah.
Limited edition, they said. I guess it's not too limited if it's still there, like 6 years later or whatever. But yeah, I thought the artwork was cool, so I grabbed it.
J-Dog's DVD Dungeon's getting a shout out, and yeah, man, I've talked to him about maybe coming on the show, like a MWO show or something like that, but I don't know if he would be, you know. So the 4K, which yes, there is a 4K of this. There's a couple of different 4Ks of this.
Yep.
But I think we all have the same one.
Yep.
From Turbine in Germany. And, yeah, mine's actually still sealed. I never have checked mine out. I may watch it here for getting prepared for the new one that's coming out. I might need to watch it afterwards to get the taste of the new one out of my mouth.
That's going to be fucking awesome. Like, whether it's either going to be a surprise and be good, or it's going to be the worst shit ever and it'll be great to make fun of. So,
but yeah, I mean, this one is essentially like the most recent one, but it's the full 4K version on 4K Steelbook.
Steelbook.
Yeah, we do need to do like an updated collector video somehow. Or another.
I would love to do a poster video. I just don't know how I would do it because mine are all like
very difficult.
Tubes, you know, you had those sleeves which made life easy because you could just flip through them. I have like binders, like portfolios and stuff. I would have to probably do it Sean Clark style on the table and just film it and look over the top of it because I got a lot.
For sure. So, our good buddy Anthony, it's good to know that he's in here because he did want us to do kind of a review, which we've had to have done a review before on this because there's a couple of different releases for this we're going to get to. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Now, this was a film that Tobe Hooper signed a deal with Canon, right? Like a three picture deal, and this was one of the 3 pictures.
Yeah.
This may have been the first one.
I'm not even sure if he made it through all 3 films. I know he did this, Life Force,
Invaders
and maybe
from Mars.
Invaders from Mars. Yeah.
But yeah, this one was probably the one that they wanted. That Canon definitely. Didn't Golan Globus have something to do with this one as well?
I thought so.
So the movie though, like it's way different than the original film. The characters in it, like it's set, for one thing, it's not even set in the same area. It's like Texas/Oklahoma, right? Is that the deal?
I don't remember. I actually kind of have a very different, probably opinion than both of you on this because, like I said, I saw the original one first and I loved it. So when I saw this one, I actually didn't like it that much at first because it was so different. I thought I was going to get like a very similar vibe as the original, that gritty, like, you know, backwoodsy kind of feeling. And this one was just a lot more colorful and it had a little bit of comedic elements to it. And at first I just didn't really care for it, but the more I kind of started watching it, the more I liked it. But yeah, it took me a little while to kind of warm up to this one. The first time I saw it, I think I had a VHS, but I think it was like that one with like, what's his name on the front there? Like it was like a MGM weird one. And then I bought the DVD. My wife got me the DVD for Christmas one year. It was that original like MGM version or whatever. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of this one at first, but I really appreciate it now.
Yeah, it's just something nostalgic about that movie. Like I've gone back and watched it a bunch, and like it doesn't really hold up as much as any of the, even like 1 and 3. But like there's something about it where I watched it first that kind of makes it like special somehow or another. And it looks like Return of the Living Dead to me. It reminds me of like the Return of the Living Dead Texas Chainsaw movie. Mm-hmm. Like it has that same comedy color, like everything's oversaturated and crazy, and yeah, so it's completely different. And
it's definitely a movie that inspired the hell out of Rob Zombie as well, because he's tried to remake parts of it 3 or 4 different times in movies. But yeah,
there's some scenes in it though that are great. Like you have to admit, like
pretty
much anything with Saito and it's great. Pretty much like anything with Bill Moseley in the fucking radio station is amazing. And there's some like random scenes like the John Cressup's talking about the guy at the chainsaw store where he sells him that chainsaw and he's watching him. He's like having an orgasm watching him hit that wood and stuff. Yeah.
that scene where he's putting the chainsaw between her legs and like that's a weird scene still to watch, like that whole thing. But yeah, I think everybody did well in the movie. It's just it was just a very different change what we're used to. And the Breakfast Club poster, I mean, that kind of sums the whole thing up right there. Is that it's like it's not taking itself as serious as the first one did, and
No.
I really love that artwork a lot.
Well, the character Stretch kind of becomes a target after she plays audio of Leatherface sawing up some like college students or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of kidnap her, and that's where the underground layer comes into play. And the movie is it's kind of everywhere. Like it's definitely, I mean, it's a good enough movie. It's not one that I go back and rewatch a whole lot. It's got a cool midnight movie feel to it. I like the scenes with Lou Perryman and Carolyn Williams in the the studio there, and just looking at the stuff in the background. I think Lou Perryman had Moss Man from Masters of the Universe.
And wasn't it you who said you noticed the rad thing?
I did, yeah. I noticed.
That's crazy to think about. I mean,
the Rad soundtrack up on the wall, and this was like the same year that Rad came out.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Like, how does that even happen? That's so weird. But this had a VHS because I had it. I know it at least had one. It might have had more. Yeah. And it did have the Laserdisc because I looked that up. Do you guys have any versions of that on VHS or Laser?
No.
Nah, I have the VHS cover on a Blu-ray. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But
is it the first Blu-ray? Oh, not the Blu-ray. Sorry, you have the first DVD release, and that's the one my wife got me for Christmas one year. I think it was like probably when it first came out, and it was the worst cover ever.
Yeah, what's the deal? I remember Suncoast Video having this the day that I got my DVD player for the first time, and I was like, what in the fuck is Dennis Hopper doing on the cover of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2?
I forgot about that one. Yeah.
That's the one that I had the VHS of as well. It had like a blue bar on the top though. But yeah, my now wife at the time, we were in college, I think, and maybe we weren't in college yet, but she gave that to me for Christmas, and I was like, what a freaking weird cover that is.
Fucking yeah, Dennis Hopper really like. I guess they're like he's the only marketable like person in this movie.
Did you have that one too, UB?
Yeah, I've got that one out there in the bin somewhere.
So I had since got rid of that one because I just hated it, the cover of that so much. I was like, get this out of my collection. So when this one came out, cover's no better, but it's better, but it's not great, and it's this like gruesome edition.
I hated that fucking that was when Saw and shit was popular, and like they made it like I hated
for all you slip lovers out there. Look, I got the slip.
Well, they did the Blu-ray version of the same thing, right?
Yeah, and that was my first Blu-ray I bought of that, but I've since sold that off.
So yeah, they even used the Texas it's like the Saw font they use on it too.
They try to trick you.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, look. Saw.
God, that's it.
That is funny.
But yeah, Felcher worked on these. I know that he worked on, oddly enough, the commentary on these is Toby Hooper with filmmaker at the time, David Gregory. Whoa!
God.
He's the bloke that's behind Uncle Bill's glorious dick demon that he plays with on a daily basis.
He's like, amen. Come help me make his dick demon.
Let's go back down to the pottery barn, Mum. Commentary with, and Felcher's talked about this on the show with Bill Moseley, Carolyn Williams, Tom Savini, and Felcher's actually on it with him. So that's pretty neat. And it's a good enough edition, for sure. But there's better ones.
Well, yeah, so I ended up selling that edition of mine with that Saw cover. I had bought the Blu-ray, and it was, again, it felt to me like that was like a placeholder because it was very similar to what I had on this DVD, except the upgraded transfer or whatever. I don't know if you guys have this one. This one is the big one that I bought just because it was just so stacked. And it's an Arrow UK.
I've got that one, yeah.
This was so stacked. Look, I mean, I can't even tell
I don't
you
have
how
the
many features
fucking
on it.
box, though, you dickhead.
Yeah, that's
What?
see,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
basically
I've just got the regular, like, yeah, I've got that. Or no,
Oh,
like,
really?
that's the alternate art,
Oh,
the
yeah,
Breakfast
yeah.
Club cover.
Yeah, I don't have the
So
case
this
and all
is
that.
this, and this has got like a bunch of different books and discs in here. I think it's got 4 discs. Yeah, 4 discs in here.
See,
3
they
discs.
got the reversible cover, right? Arrow always does. I love Arrow shit, but
Oh yeah, same here.
I can totally see. Let me see here.
Uh-oh.
They don't say if it's remastered in 4K, but I think that they'll re-release it, and it'll be in that same box, Garrett. It'll be in 4K.
I know this is limited to 10,000. This version right here was. I don't know if it's not available anymore or whatever, but I had this first, and then we were announced. Obviously, a little bit later was the Scream Factory version. I had this well before the Scream Factory, so this came out in 2013.
Well,
This edition.
I'm not sure about the transfer on the Screen Factory one, but this one looks freaking killer. Like, it looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you've got the Screen Factory one, I think, don't you?
I think the Scream Factory one might have been one of the first Scream Factory ones that I actually got. Like,
This
I'm not
was
sure.
this came out
2014, maybe.
This came out after this Arrow one. I know that much because I had this first and I got this the day it came out. And again, I love that artwork. And then I got that slip. So I think this might be with the slip is one of those editions that are like worth big money because of this stupid piece of cardboard right here. But yeah. So I don't know. This came out. What year this one came out in? Oh yeah. 2016. This came out.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
So,
think,
yeah, I
That's
thought that
later
was a
than I
little while
thought.
ago then.
And this was what, 2013? Holy crap, yeah. So there was a big difference in years between those two.
So, yeah, part 2 actually has quite a few releases, if you think about it. I mean, I'm sure there's a 4K of that right around
Oh, yeah.
the corner.
No
Screen
doubt.
Factory or Arrow, one of those companies is going to be doing that. And I'd be down for that. I mean, it's a well-made movie. I think it's got some good shots in it. It's like a midnight movie type deal. And Hooper was doing that a lot around this time frame too, it seems like. But yeah, we'll go through some questions real quick here, and then we'll get
Yeah,
into
because I think we're going to go pretty quickly through the next bunch, though. Yeah.
We do have...
This is my favorite. The first two are fine. They're definitely the best of the movie. This is going to be my favorite part, is doing all the rest of them after this.
yeah, we're going to go through these
Jesus.
kind of quick because the series kind of takes a... But we do have a really cool clip that's coming up that you guys want to stick around, give the video a thumbs up, because this is fucking epic. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Some of the...
You got to stay to the end.
Yeah. Stay until towards the end of the show, and we will play this clip for you. You guys will enjoy. We'll go through some questions here real quick, though. Holly Go Frightley said that she had dinner with Gunnar Hansen, John Dugan, Ed Neal, and Bill Moseley. That was super weird.
I can
Yeah,
imagine.
on a long table there, that would be kind of odd. Ben Grimm says he's a fan of Texas Chainsaw 2, but most of us, it takes place in Oklahoma, Texas weekend. I watch it every time that they play each other, so that's a big rivalry, evidently. Jake Cortenhouse, Texas Chainsaw 2 is the last good Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie for me. I would almost agree with that. I mean, we're going to be talking about them a little bit later.
We'll be fighting a little bit, and then we'll...
Yeah. Then we'll make up.
Yeah.
Dirk Jason Hall, Ed Neal told a story about Marilyn Burns and Gunner. He said Joe Bob told him and Gunner if they got Marilyn drunk, they would have a good chance with her, and she outdrank both of their asses.
That sounds about right.
Another interesting thing about Marilyn Burns, though, is she had her number listed publicly, right? So, and I'd heard from people that would call her, and she would literally talk to them for like, I don't know, I mean, how long she would talk to them, but answer their questions and shit. And she was like one of the best through the mail signers. Like, she would sign everything that you sent.
Yep. I've still got a bunch of
cool
lobby cards that she sent that were hers, that were signed, from back then. Like, I guess that would have been early on, like 2005 or something. 2004, 2005, yeah. She sent a ton of shit through the mail.
Johnny Walker says there is a bonus disc in the Black Maria that was never released in any other version.
You're trying to get me to buy it live right now, aren't you? You're trying to get me to just buy it right now.
I think you need to.
Johnny Walker, that logo's killer, dude.
Yeah, I like that logo.
Yeah.
Let's see. Texas Chainsaw 2 is set in Dallas. Okay.
Son of a bitch.
Grande's Graveyard says, on Texas Chainsaw 2. So, okay. So let's talk about this next one here. This is Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Jeff Burr.
Did it have a VHS or Laserdisc? I'm assuming yes, but I don't know any. Do you?
Laserdisc. I know it had a VHS. I don't know about the Laserdisc though.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it may not have had a Laserdisc.
Uncle
Bill, could you call that? You already named that dog, right?
Yeah.
I think Nubbins would have been a pretty cool name.
That would have been a good name. If I would have got to name it, that would have been a great name. But as it stands right now, its name is Princess Juliet Palmans. So.
What? Just start calling him Nubbins.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a nickname for
it. Nubbins.
It is kind of a Nubbins.
So, like, Texas Chainsaw 3, though, like, it didn't do very well at the box office, but I think with rentals and stuff like that, I remember, like, it did pretty good. Now, I don't think any of us have the VHS of it, right? I don't. But the same artwork and everything was on this initial DVD release from New Line Cinema. Yeah. And this is one that I rewatched this one not too long ago, man, and I honestly, I remember it being way better than what it actually was. Like, I don't know, the last time I watched it, I was not that impressed with it.
Yeah, I can tell you, I have not watched this movie in a long time, and one of the only couple things I can remember about it was the big fight he had there with, was it Ken Furry, right?
Yeah.
He had that big fight. I can remember that, and then I can remember what I never can forget is that how crazy that trailer was for this movie. Like, it was like Excalibur or whatever, and it was coming out of the water and all that stuff. Like, I thought that was like so killer, but it kind of was wasn't really what we got in this movie. So, man, I can't give a lot of 2 cents in this because it's been way too long since I've seen this, and I'm actually really wanting to go back and check it out. What do you think about it, Uncle Bill?
I've seen it quite a few times, and I think that Kentucky Tater says it best. He says it's decent but uneven. Like, it has some good scenes in it, but it's really boring in a lot of scenes too. Like, it kind of drags on and on and on before anything happens. They introduce a bunch of characters that don't really do anything. There's just a lot about that movie that's really boring, and a lot about it that's just like I like the fact that they were trying to do like the serious tone of the first one and skip over like the comedic tone of the second one, but it just didn't work for some reason. Like, it was way too slow. I don't think that Jeff Burr was a guy that could really make a film like that. Like, I like Jeff Burr. We've interviewed him.
He's a nice fella.
He's a nice guy. But look at the shit he's directed, though. That's all I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of really horrible sequels that guy has directed.
The best Jeff Burr film is a movie called The Offspring.
From a Whisper to a Scream.
From a Whisper to a Scream as well. That's probably the best movie that Jeff Burr ever made. Poor fella.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you guys this, just because, again, I really can't remember, but what we know about Texas Chainsaw just as a whole is like nothing besides the first and even maybe the second as far as the tone being so different, but like at least there's some of the same characters. Like, every time they make one of these movies, it's almost like they're just starting from scratch, right? Like, and that's what's interesting to me is that this isn't really connected, but yet it's supposed to be the third one, kind of. I don't know if they were planning like a reboot or something or what they were doing here, but that's always been fascinating is that they're doing this, like they just keep rebooting this franchise where Friday the 13th and stuff could get and Freddy and Elm Street can get away with a lot of that because it's just a single guy, right? Where these movies, like you're involving a whole family that this dude has to be a part of. So it's like, it's super weird because you can't just plop a whole new family every time and expect it to, I don't know. It's just a very weird avenue they always take with these movies where I think they're trying to take the routes of like the slashers, but it's not just Leatherface. You're always going to involve like another group. And I don't know.
Well, that gets a lot worse to me too when you start getting into the remake and the fucking and the prequel and all that where they got
look now, hey, you don't want to you don't diss the remake, Garrett.
I'm sorry.
Well, we're going to talk about another one coming up soon, which is in the very similar tone, is where it's like they just kind of tried to restart it, but it's like a whole new cast of. It's just a very weird decision that they make when they do these Texas Chainsaw movies. I feel like.
Grande's Graveyard says he thinks it's the best sequel. The MPAA really crippled the gore in it. But yeah, the DVD version, it's back in there. There's an unrated version of it. And it's still, to me, it didn't save it. Like, to me, I was like, I mean, the whole story is, what is it? Brother and sister traveling across the country. Kate Hodge and our good buddy, what the hell was his name? William Butler.
Yeah.
And it's actually not even Texas, it's California. It don't look like Texas at all. It looks more like LA. And then, yeah, the whole family is like different. Leatherface is there, kind of, and he looks, that's when like, well, the fourth movie is just a total, but the Leatherface in this one, it almost looks like they smeared shit all over his mask. Like he's like a greasy turd in Leatherface Texas Chainsaw 3.
The trailer, he looked almost like a lumberjack. Remember in the trailer for it? He was like a lumberjack guy. Yeah. He was like all jacked up and stuff.
Yeah,
I think the design, though, they put him in the leg brace and everything. And I think some of it like was good. But then some of it was kind of stupid. So what are you going to do, though? Like Garrett said, this was the beginning of like them reintroducing family members and like introducing all these new family members, and it just some of this was really stupid. Like some of the family members in this movie were really, really kind of stupid.
Interesting thing about this, do you have the Blu-ray of this, Garrett?
I don't.
So
it's a Warner Archive Blu-ray, and I was hesitant. I wanted to buy it, but I'm like, Warner Archive's hit or miss, and what's going on now is it seems like a lot of these companies are just taking all their titles and redoing them. So I think we'll probably see this again soon, and I will grab it next time. But Warner Archive to me is I don't know. I mean, it's hit or miss for me when it comes to like how good an upgrade is for that. But
yeah, I think this is Scream Factory written all over it.
It should be because they've got all the other ones pretty much.
So continuing on, this next one's interesting because it's got a different story than all the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. This was a movie that was made in like 93, 94. And let's just be honest, it was so fucking terrible that they shelved it. It would probably still, well, maybe it would have come out on DVD eventually. But the only reason that it came out was Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey become big stars in Hollywood. And that is Texas Chainsaw: The Next Generation.
Ooh.
Part 4. And it was one of those movies that it kept the 588 bin at Walmart well stocked for many years. And that's where I got it. I'd actually seen it on a movie channel of some sort before that, though. I think it didn't come out until like 97, 98, something like that.
This came out in 99.
Okay.
So
well, the funny story is, though, show your copy, right?
That was this one. I think this is the unrated one because I know they did unrated and a rated, and you have this. Mine's 94 minutes. What do you got?
This one is 94 minutes as well.
Okay, so
you want me to tell you the big difference between these? They got their ass sued. for putting Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey on the cover of it. That's basically why there's a different cover. I think it's the exact same. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the exact same disc.
Let's check it. Mine. Jesus, it's like there's no artwork on it.
Right, as is mine. It's a flipper.
Look at this though. You have that cool insert right there with all the
I do.
characters on
Yeah.
it. Oh, do you really?
Yeah. So that's
this one.
That's the only difference. They got sued.
I rented this, and I'm not sure if I rented the VHS tape, but this image right here is what I remember the most. Is like that. I wasn't sure what I was looking at here. Like, I still, it's odd. It's like a jacked woman. I don't know, but
yeah, you shouldn't describe it too much.
Jacked woman.
Yeah, I know.
Don't describe it too much. You'll offend somebody. You know.
But as a teenager, going into the video store and seeing this, I don't know if this was what it looked like, and I saw the back, but I can remember being so intrigued by this movie and being like, what is this? You know, and I wasn't sure what to think of it. Like, it just seemed so different. And then when I watched it, it was just so out there. Man, I'm going to tell you this. My buddy and Keith and I think, rented this together when we were like teenagers. And there's this one specific scene that we just laughed and we're like, this is terrible. It's like, I posted it somewhere recently where McConaughey snaps the neck of some dude and his friends saw him do it. So they're running away and he's chasing them in his truck. And the kid stops because he's so tired. And McConaughey pulls up to him and the kid looks at him and he goes, "Stop it, mister. You're scaring me." Like that. No, exactly like that. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, like, you just saw this dude snap your friend's neck. He's trying to run you down, and you're just gonna stop. It is like one of the worst acting lines I think I've ever seen in a movie. But I will say, I actually enjoy this film more now than I did ever. Like, just for like the fact of how off the walls it is, and how kind of just, it's just, I don't want to say bad. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to say so bad it's good kind of feeling, I feel like, with this
I'm not, like, we watched this movie not too long ago because we had to do like a, what was it, like a commentary over it?
A commentary on the Patreon page.
Yeah, so, like, it's not been that long since I've seen this. And for, like, the first, whatever, hour of it, I was confused as to why it got so much hate. And then you get to, like, the last 30 minutes, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes fucking sense. Because everything just starts, like, falling apart, and everything's like chaotic, and then like crazy, you know, gender fluid Leatherface comes in, and like just stupid shit that comes out of nowhere, like all the stuff with the mafia and all the stuff with like
hydraulic
Renee Zellweger, Renee
yeah.
Zellweger telling him to shut the fuck up and sit down and all that stuff.
And there's an Illuminati storyline kind of in the back of it.
Yeah,
you can definitely see why. There's a very interesting what?
I thought the dog was getting up. Its head came into frame like a little bit.
One thing we didn't mention though is this movie came out on Laserdisc in Japan as The Return of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was actually the first release of this. That I think it came out like '94, which is, I mean, it's on eBay. It's like $100 if somebody really wants to. You know, I mean, it is kind of interesting because that's the only time it was called Return of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But this movie is fucking like awful. Like, it's begins kind of the long winding road of just fucking awful movies. Like, I don't know, mediocre films.
Yeah, I feel like that Leatherface, the third one, was kind of like the slow transition into hell, and then part 4 was just like it's going to take it all the way. Like into the bowels of hell there.
Yeah, like I wasn't sure if was this like the next generation? Like, was this just going to be a one-off? Were they planning on like continuing this story? Like, I never really understood, and it came out in such a weird time, I think, for horror at the time. Like you said, it was released in '99 or something like that, and
it was released in
like wait, you said it was released. It was made
I think
in
the
'93, right?
Yeah, it's like 93, 94. The VHS came out in like 97, I think.
So did this ever see theaters?
No. I mean, maybe very, very limited run.
Like, a part of me almost feels like I remember seeing the trailer, but it could have been like maybe it was coming on TV or something and they posted like a little like clip of it. But I can almost remember that. And I just was never sure.
I feel like if it's Jeff Burr, it probably never got. Oh wait, are you talking about part 4? I don't even remember who directed part 4.
Now part 3 had a big theatrical release.
Yeah.
I think that one did. But yeah, Next Generation did have, and Garrett's got it there. We definitely want to talk about it. And hey, Screen Factory does a great job at shining turds up really well.
Look at this picture, though. Look at that.
They did a great job with that edition.
Like, this would be a poster I'd want to get on the wall there. Look at that picture. It's classic. It's just wild, man. Like, this photo to me is just like a wild image. I don't know why. It's just...
Is there anything, though, more disturbing than the fucking dinner scene in that particular movie? With that mask? Like, I don't even know how they made that mask, but there's something about that particular one that's like, to me, like the most disturbing one of all, because it's all like, you know, in the first one it kind of looks realistic, but this one in the lady version or whatever looks like something out of fucking Society or something. It's just bizarre.
Kim Hinkle did direct this too. Funny thing though, I talked to Felcher about this because Felcher did a lot of the special features on that disc. On YouTube right now, there's almost a feature-length documentary making of that movie that was not included on the Blu-ray. And it was due to some sort of issue with the filmmakers did not want it on there, which I thought was very odd since they uploaded it to frickin' YouTube. And the documentary on it is actually really interesting. Like, you would think that they would not have made something like that way back in 1993. So if anybody's interested in that, go check it out. It's free on YouTube.
Yeah. Very good. All right, we doing this now?
So we've told you guys to tune in, and I guess this would be a good time as any. Our good friend Wet Movie. Let's just go ahead and we'll play it. He sent us this clip, and it does feature one of the stars of the the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003.
All right, guys, still at CreepyCon, now with Leatherface himself, Andrew Bernarski. How you doing, my brother?
Chilling like a villain.
I'm pillin' chillin'. But man, it's always a pleasure.
We're here at
Econ. Yeah, man.
In the fabulous Inland Empire, represent. And it's going great.
It's pretty cool, man. You always have a step.
Kind of con I like to see in Southern California.
Right?
And man, what a good turnout.
It's super cool.
All run this well. It'd be a better gig, man. It's been great coming out and seeing all the cool people here. So,
you have anything cool coming up that you want to tell us about?
I always have cool stuff coming up. Check my Facebook where I keep people posted. I've got a new Adult Swim kind of show out now that we just started our run, and it's very fun. Check it out. I do the voice of Anubis, managing an undead punk rock band solving mysteries.
That's super cool.
You gotta check it out.
Yeah, make
it's called the Deadsville Rock and Roll Mysteries, and I'm producing it as well. So
definitely, guys, keep your eye out for him. Make sure you guys follow Andrew Bernarski on his Facebook and Instagram. You see the links right there behind.
Instagram, really.
Oh, you don't?
You know, I'm old school.
Yeah.
But hey, listen.
Yeah, brother.
Thanks for having me out here. I hope all the fans have made it, had a great time.
Yeah, man.
And you know, you weren't here.
You missed out.
Oh man.
Yep.
You could have had this much.
Yeah. But before I go, I just want to say thank you, brother. And I wanted to give you this card to my buddies at DEADPIT.com. They told me to give it to you.
Deadpool.com. That's Dead Brad Pitt?
DEADPIT.com. Yeah, man.
Wait a second. Is that Kevin Smith? Did you get fat again?
Yeah. I guess so.
Wait, that's Fred Durst.
Is that Fred Durst? It might be. But thank you, Andrew, man.
Okay, hey, listen.
Take it easy, my brother.
I think he was a little bit confused.
Thanks, Brendan.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing... He thought Brenda was like the promoter of the convention. Thanks for bringing me out here, dude.
I think we should all pray for Andrew Bernarski because I think he's dealing with some stuff. Oh, Jesus.
Dead Brad Pitt. Hell yeah. Fred Durst. So, yeah. Big thanks to our good buddy Brendan for putting that show together and doing the clip and handing out the propaganda. We definitely appreciate it, man. Very cool.
And
Nice.
just like Andrew Bernarski, we've always got some stuff going on around the corner.
Always good stuff.
That's
going
what I
on.
would start saying. We've always got stuff that's happening.
You gotta check our Facebook page.
Got stuff coming up and whatnot.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you definitely like that sort of thing, give it a thumbs up. And maybe Brendan can bombard some other people like Danielle.
Deadpool.com.
Brendan, you know what? I was very disappointed in you. You should have flipped the card around with my
That's
card on
right.
it. And you should have handed it nicely to Scout Taylor Compton and says, "Here you go. You got to check these guys out." That's what should have happened on that.
He could have
the other
done
day.
that, yeah.
He should have done that.
You're a big fan of the
A
Scout.
Scouty?
Her real name is
love that.
Desiree. I did not know that until
I didn't
the
know that
interview.
either, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. But, man, I would love to have her and Danielle on this show.
Yeah, they
promoting
can talk
their
about
new
sucking each other's toes or whatever
Hey,
they're doing
man,
on
you
it.
know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having them on to promote their stuff would be a nice gesture for all the Dead Pit fans. to check
Listen,
them out.
that's the greatest gimmick of all time for a fucking
know?
podcast like that. Like
I agree.
They figured out the formula.
They just have to
cracked the code.
bring up butt sex every once in a while, and people will
Yep.
stick around. Guarantee it.
Everybody's on there. Oh God.
The next one, though, since Andrew best Leatherface ever Bernarski was, he's in the next two as Leatherface. We got to get to him because I know Garrett is a big fan of both of these movies. There's a lot of people that's a big fan of this first movie, actually. Texas Chainsaw 03.
So, yeah, I mean, when I was a big fan of this movie when it came out, I mean, I don't know if it was just right place, right time. But again, like I said, the last decent Texas Chainsaw I thought was probably part 2. So to me, this I was really excited about, and I actually really liked it overall. And this edition was a big release when this first came out. And this was the first physical media edition, I think, of this movie. I don't think it had a VHS, but I could be wrong. But this was the one that everybody was after because it was stacked with stuff. And I haven't looked inside this in years, so I'm curious.
This is actually pretty impressive as far as packaging goes.
It's gonna fold out. Look at that, boom. It's gonna fold out. Couple discs in here. Look at it. It's got some evidence at the bottom. I do
Get this though, man. Did yours come with this?
Tin.
This is kind of odd. Oh yeah, the tin.
Yeah.
So,
What do you do with this?
I don't know. Mine came with 2. I've got 2 of them.
What? Yeah. 2 tins.
2 tins.
And then I got an evidence enclosed. I'm not even sure what's in this thing.
I think it's photos.
I don't think I've even opened it.
Do they even do any sort of packaging like this anymore for movies? I don't think so.
So if you're a fan of this movie, I think this is the edition to have because I don't think it's ever I know it hasn't gotten treatment like this again. And man, again, I know this gets hated on, but I think this one is probably the best since part 2, in my opinion. I never had a problem with it. I thought it had a pretty.
A lot of people like it. I mean, to me, I think it's one of the very worst remakes of all time. I mean, and
God damn.
You bastard.
I mean, honestly, I've only watched this movie 2 or 3 different times. I think we did a commentary over it. It's over on Patreon if you guys want to check it out. It's just okay, so it's set in 70, does it say it's 73, I think?
Something
I don't
like that because it's around
remember, man.
Vietnam.
Do you
remember
believe any of them motherfuckers are kids from the 70s at all? They look like they're straight off of the cover of Abercrombie and Fitch circa 2003. And the leather the mask, it looks completely bullshit. It looks bogus. Now, Arlie Ermy, I'm a fan of his as an actor. You know, Full Metal Jacket was one of those holy shit moments when I was a kid when I saw it. Out of the entire cast, he's probably the only one that really does a decent job, and I'll give him that. But this movie is the shits.
Holy shit! What was that? What the fuck is that?
I just thought it was like, to me, this always felt like just dirty. Like, for instance, like I liked the idea of it being like that found footage thing at the beginning and at the end where they will like go down in the basement, and I don't know. I just thought it was cool. And
who the fuck are these people?
But I know this is probably, I guarantee a lot of people that are watching our show nowadays, I guarantee this was the first one a lot of these people have seen. And I'm sure they probably feel the same way that we felt when we saw the original. And I think it was
You mentioned that it felt very dirty and grimy.
I felt it wet, dirty, like everything felt, like it was just kind of like just dirt all over the place. Like it just had that feel to it. I felt,
to me, it just had that processed Michael Bay fake looking like, and the next movie did too. I mean, they both look like that. Like I didn't buy these movies were made in the 60s and 70s at all.
I agree with this Jake. Karen throws or whatever the leather face looks like a member of Slipknot or mushroom.
He did.
Head.
Mushroom head, Leatherface.
I think that there was a particular style of movie that like Lionsgate was making around that time.
Yeah.
And they all look like this. I don't know if it came from this particular movie. I think it did. It probably came from Saw.
No, this was like before Saw.
Was that before Saw? Okay.
Yeah. Saw was the next year.
Because everything looked like this. It just looked like he was saying, like a processed version of what you would think a Grindhouse movie would look like. Like that's what they were trying to recreate, like that look. But it just ended up like everything looked the same. And that's probably my biggest kind of problem with this movie, other than the fact that like it also has like the kind of direction where everything's edited super fast, like like every action scene and death scene in it is edited so quickly you can't even tell what the fuck's going on.
Michael Bay
became like a big thing around that period of time too, when Michael Bay was really
the best thing that Michael Bay ever did was that Meatloaf music video.
Did he do that?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Wow. What, I'll Do Anything for Love, that one?
Yep.
Oh, that was a great video, yeah.
That was the best thing he ever did, in my opinion.
But I think that edition, though, is the best that thing's had. And I know it's had, like, some regular editions after this, like, with just, like, kind of that vision of his face. It was, like, a standard. I don't know if you guys have that.
This did have a VHS release, too. This was the last Chainsaw movie that did have a VHS. So those are out there. You got wet movies like
next time.
Get it next time.
Next time.
Yeah, rest in peace, Meatloaf, man. Like that guy was definitely another. It was music from our childhood for sure.
I think that I like this movie though better than the next one. I think that, I mean,
they're both kind of fucking terrible, but this also had a basic Blu-ray too, right? It was just a very kind of
like it had everything this had. It just was not fancy. Like it wasn't done up like this. Like I mean, it's got all the same features and stuff, but it's just the Blu-ray, same artwork and stuff like that. So nothing really new on here.
Eric Perry says, "No need to talk about the rest, boys. We're good."
we'll work fast. We'll
go through some questions again real quick here that I've saved. They need to release a 4K of the next generation. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think that'll be out. Why do people like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake? It gets so much praise, and I just don't get it. It looks like a fucking American Eagle commercial.
It kind of does look like that, and it's funny because I didn't like when you guys are talking about it. I'm thinking to myself, I don't remember like that this was supposed to take place in the 70s. Like to me, it felt like it should have took place when it took place. Like
like even the hairstyles and stuff. Nothing was. And the clothes and all that.
A part of me wants to go back. Like it really was supposed to be the 70s. I don't remember like if it
I think
was
it's
or not.
73, right?
Really?
I think
well, then
so,
if that's the case, when the hell does this next one take place? Because that's what we're going to be.
That's a
talking
prequel.
now.
Yeah, it's a
Right,
prequel.
so,
So
like,
it's in the.
Is that going to take? Is that taking
not
place in, like, the
50s.
friggin'
It's 60. Part of it takes place in the 30s, right? Because you see Leatherface squirt out of his fucking maw. We'll talk about that. Wet
that's
Movie
coming.
1.
I forgot about that.
I always enjoy
Jesus.
Texas Chainsaw 2 and 3. He says 3 is okay. I don't care for the others. And we're going to talk about that towards the end as far as the legacy of the entire franchise, not just the first.
Our rankings.
The first movie. We can do rankings. I don't mind to do a quick ranking there.
Woo! All right.
Carolyn Williams is briefly in the beginning of part 3. It is extremely brief.
Yeah.
It is like a passing shot. That's all it is. Manic Exorcism. There's a comic that connects Chainsaw 2 and 3 and reveals the Saw is family chainsaw. I own it because I'm a nerd.
That's good to know. So technically, they're trying to make it part 3, right? They're actually trying to make it connect somehow, even though it. So it's good at least. I'm always about continuity.
Our good friend Nate, and I'm not going to say both of those names fast. So I'm just going to call you Nate because I'll get in trouble. TCM 3 is the best of the sequels. You're tripping. No. You're wrong, sir. You're so wrong, Nate.
You're straight tripping, fool.
Nathan.
Nathaniel. There we go. Nathaniel. So, we'll continue on. I do have a DVD of this. I think I got it at Goodwill. You got the slip.
I don't have any of
Slip,
this.
bro. Slip. Come on, slip.
Texas Chainsaw, the beginning.
What? Slippy. Look at this is before slips were cool. See?
That's true.
It's
The
embossed.
DVD
Look at
slips.
that.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's actually very true.
I actually keep my DVD slips. I always did, but we'll get to the.
This is interesting, real quick here before we get into it. Carolyn Williams, according to Wet Movie, Carolyn Williams and Felissa Rose had a bubble bath together at one point. They told me this in a video. I can totally. Carolyn Williams is a damn. I mean, I don't want to be mean or anything, but she's what the younger people call a freak, from what from what I can see.
Listen, man. Well, how old is she? Like, she's got to be in her
60.
late 50. Is she 60?
Yeah.
Man.
Wow, I
like
guess
that,
you're right. I guess we're getting old, bro.
That woman has aged well. I will say that. Like, for to be 60 years old, Jesus Christ.
Andrew needs that video. Curly Jaws does not like Texas Chainsaw the beginning, man.
Wow.
He likes a lot of really bad stuff.
Which one do you like, bro?
From the opening of that movie,
I liked
all
this one too. I liked it. I thought it was all right. I didn't like it as much as the other one, but I thought this was pretty cool. I can remember seeing it in the theater with my buddy Mike, and us being kind of like, oh yeah, like we were connecting them, like, oh, that's cool. That's where he let his legs. Like, I thought it was good. I mean, but it's been a long time since I've seen this one. So maybe I think different. But I remember in the theater, I thought it was a good prequel to what
Jordana Brewster's kind of hot in it, and that Diora Bard's in it.
yeah, she's.
I can just remember it making sense to me. Like I felt like it connected the two movies pretty well. But I don't remember a lot about this one per se. It's been a while since I've seen it.
I'm not kidding you though. In the opening, like 3 or 4 minutes, Leatherface's mom, you see her water break, and Leatherface kind of in the shadows plops out of his mom, and then they fast forward to like I think this part's in the 60s or something, maybe, I don't know. And Leatherface gets fired from his job at the slaughterhouse.
That's the part that I remember.
I remember that too,
where it's like, yeah, he's like, this guy fires him and he goes on this like rampage and all this.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be like teenage Leatherface or something like that, I guess, at that point.
I don't know.
Was this, maybe I'm wrong, was he like found somewhere? Like, did his mom like throw him away or something?
Yeah, there was something like that. There was some kind of sub-story, like where, like after she has him, like she gets rid of him, and I don't know, something happens, or somebody finds him.
This is one though that's not. I think Garrett was kind of you're kind of praising this one. You need to go back and rewatch this one, it sounds like. Because there's not too many. If old Curly Jaws don't like it.
I know, that makes me nervous, actually.
And it did have a Blu-ray, yeah.
The blue. Again, it's nothing. Actually, you know what? I don't know if this is unrated. This might be the rated theatrical cut, because it doesn't say unrated on here like it does on my DVD. So it could be the rated cut, actually. But I always liked those two. I thought they meshed well as a 2-movie set.
That one's 2006.
I understand the hate because it's not the original.
Physical Media Miklich says, I know that all the movies aren't the best, but I've enjoyed them all for what they are. Yeah, I mean, I can understand that for sure. I just wanted to throw this one up real quick. I cannot show you the back because, I'll get thrown off of YouTube. But this is a killer edition that people need to check out. It's a part of the chainsaw story that not too many people know about. Directed by Rob Rotten.
I don't have that one.
Yeah, it's got a slip cover and everything.
You gotta get it. It's collectible as fuck.
Oh wow,
the slip cover.
You can get it from Metro Interactive. So, what do we have left?
Pretty
slim
is
pickings. Yeah.
I guess
this is where things get bad here.
No, they've already gotten bad. They've gotten real bad by this point.
So I think
worse. They might get worse. I don't know.
Garrett has I have the Blu-ray somewhere, but I may have not brought it in. But I've got the DVD version. This is the next one, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh God.
And I got the Blu-ray with a lenticular.
So this one had a weird release. Dirk Jason Hall, thank you for the super chat, sir. Hit the like button, share with your family, and super chat. Stop being cheap and lazy. That's a great attitude to have. Oh,
everybody.
Hey, seriously though, we've had a fucking large ass crowd in here tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys.
People have, I don't know, we've got some ideas of stuff to do. I think we're going to be doing a show, probably not a week from tonight because it'd be the Super Bowl. That probably wouldn't be a good idea. But, yeah, we've got an interesting idea for a show maybe in a couple of weeks. Well, we can do that one. But we're not done. We're going to talk about Texas Chainsaw, a.k.a. Texas Chainsaw 3D. I was warned about this for so long before I watched it.
Now, did you just watch it for the first time?
No, I've seen it before.
Okay.
I was talking about I think it came out in 2012. We didn't watch it, or I didn't watch it until 2013.
I saw this the first night it came out in theaters in 3D. So whenever that was, I don't remember. 2012, yeah, wow.
That little dog's going to shit on Uncle Bill on camera. It'd be so awesome.
Nubbins!
It's trying to eat my fucking headphones. Stop it. No.
So I got some of these. Look at this. So this is straight from the theater. I snagged a bunch of them. So I have I think 2 sealed and 1 unsealed or whatever. 1 loose. The Texas Chainsaw 3D glasses that you got in the theater. I have that. And look at what else I got here. I don't know how the heck I don't remember buying this, but I got some pieces of the house that they burned at the beginning of the movie. Cool, huh?
Now,
in a little
Is this the one where at the beginning of the film, Bill Moseley is in it?
Yeah,
he's Drayton Sawyer in it.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I mean that's the funny thing about this is that people always go back to is the timeline on this movie. It's totally fucked up in a lot of ways because the opening, I guess the credit sequence is a lot of shots from the original film. Okay, so they kind of mesh these new shots in from the old shots, and suddenly there's 5 or 6 more family members
in the house.
In the house, yeah. including Gunnar, like two old guys with beards. One of them's Gunnar Hansen.
Right.
And then there's a baby, and so there's like a big shootout and all that. Yeah.
I did, however, like that. Not necessarily having all the people in there, but I thought it was pretty cool when I was in the theater for the first time and seeing basically, I think the police car driving on the street, and maybe like does the truck pass them or something? Like it basically tries to take place like within minutes after the original, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, then it kind of gets a little bit wild, and I thought that Mosley looked pretty good, considering what he was supposed to be. And I thought this beginning was okay, and then I just feel like what happens is I get real confused on this timeline. Like I don't know what was going through. It's almost like they had two visions and they just said, "Fuck it, let's just do both of them."
So yeah,
I really am so lost there.
The baby. Okay, keep in mind this is 1973 is when the events from the first movie is supposed to take place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The baby, which is probably 6 months old, say maybe 6 months old, is saved from the fire and secretly kind of adopted by this new family of assholes whose the mother and the father are assholes later on. So you fast forward to, you could have easily done 1992, 1993, but it's 2012. You know, I mean, if you look closely, you can see, I think it's her grandmother's grave says 2012 on it. And there's iPhones, right? And you've got that, what was her name? Alexandra Diodoro.
Diodoro, yeah. Best part of the movie.
Yeah.
She's fucking hot as balls, yeah, for sure.
She's a very, very attractive woman.
That's the understatement.
I could stare into those eyes for days.
Yeah.
Get lost in a sea of eyes. Blueness.
And the grandmother somehow, I don't know how, knows that that's her only living relative or whatever, even though she was secretly saved from a fire. I don't know how that didn't make sense. That's the least of the problems with this one. So the grandmother gives her this big mansion. And it's in Texas, right?
Right, yeah.
Is it in? I think so. So her friends, of course, she has a group of friends always, decide to go down and check it out or whatever. And then, of course, there's I think the lawyer or whatever gives Alexandra her keys and read the note. Okay, you got to read the rules. It's almost like Gremlins, but she doesn't pay any attention to it at all.
Yeah.
And part of the rules was to, you've got Big Leatherface in the basement, and he's kind of fucking like crazy, and I don't know. But yeah, it kind of goes from there.
So
I didn't mind Leatherface in this one, though. Did you? I mean, like the actual Leatherface character in this one.
I mean, not really, but I was just very confused because, again, like, I'm coming from where I live. You guys probably know it's probably very different, but it was all over the place. Like the grocery store that she worked at the beginning of the movie, to me, looked like it was something straight out of like the 90s or maybe even like earlier. Like it wasn't a modern day grocery store. And again, I don't know if they have like more like those kind of like grocery stores around you. The kids, none of them had phones. The only people I think that had phones were like the police. So then they're using pay phones at some scenes, and the kids are dressed kind of like it's modern day. And that's what like is really just odd. And you got to remember, like if it's taking place 30 years or whatever, like then I forget how many years 2012 and 73. I mean, that's a long time. So is Diodoro like in her like mid to late 30s in the movie? And then how old is Leatherface supposed to be? I mean, that's another thing. Like, how old is he supposed to be in this? Like in his 60s? Like, and that's where I think it gets confusing. And then there's a scene where like Saw's referenced. They like make like a little joke about Saw when they're at the carnival. And
it's 100% 2012.
It's just very, like it's just odd. Like to me, it's just I feel like there was two visions, and they kind of just said, let's just
Yeah,
combine it all.
that's when I watched this movie. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like they made two different movies, and that, like either they didn't know which direction to go in, or they had footage from like one style of movie and footage from another style of movie, and they just combined all of them together. And because like clearly they don't know like anything about continuity or where they're supposed to be in this film, because you know Deidre, however you pronounce her name, looks like she's maybe 20. But like you said, she'd
early
have
20s.
she'd have to be 40 almost to be, for any of that to make any sense.
Well, the easiest fix for this is to have it set in 93, 92, 93.
And then just take the phone out in that one scene that the cop uses it. And it's like, you could really have fixed this pretty easy, but it was just laziness. And I really don't think, like, there was parts that were kind of a little bit hokey, and I don't really think they did that on purpose. Like, I think they were trying to make this as serious as possible, and there was just a lot of problems there. And
not only
that was my biggest thing with it. And it
not
was
only
very
her-
polished for a Texas Chainsaw movie. Like, this to me was one of the most polished. It didn't look like Texas Chainsaw. It looked like a modern movie, but we just threw Leatherface in.
I think that we should watch the making of. I think that I've never seen anything about this movie, but I would like to hear
on it.
Actually, it says, Texas Chainsaw Legacy featurette, Resurrecting the Saw featurette.
the commentary or the making of. There's got to be some explanation as to why this shit came out like it did.
Well, you have the sheriff, and then who would become the mayor in the beginning as well, the one that starts the fire at the house. Those guys haven't aged a bit in like 30 years or whatever, 35 years. But I like this movie. I mean, as far as, I am not going to say it's it's a good movie or even that well made, but at least it kept me entertained throughout pretty much the entire movie. It's got definitely some hokey shit in it. But yeah, it's got some good looking women in it. I thought Leatherface did pretty good. I didn't mind the look of Leatherface. It was kind of like he had like a red sweater on in it.
Yeah.
It was a little odd, but I didn't mind it. Of a lot of the sequels, I would say, Texas Chainsaw 3D is going to rank up there pretty high for me.
I mean, I thought it was entertaining, at least, because I remember in the theater, I was like, I still had a lot of head-scratching moments because, again, I'm trying to connect this to the original one because that's kind of what it's supposed to be. I wasn't bored with it at all. I thought it was entertaining, so I can give it that. But I think just an overall of what they were trying to do, I guess you would say this is one of the first requels, right? Like they're forgetting everything except the first movie, and they're kind of trying to create their own spin-off from there.
Well,
I'm not even sure what the fuck they're doing.
They turn Leatherface kind of babyface.
Well, that's another thing too.
Yeah.
Is it's like how can we even? I get it because he was always kind of not a babyface, but he was just doing what he thought he had to do. He wasn't really like maniacal. Really, he was, especially in the first movie. Like he was just, people are in his house, man. He doesn't know any different. So you know what I mean? Like, so I get it, but at the same time, it was like kind of too babyface, and that scene, do your thing, cuz like. That wasn't to be a joke. I get that wasn't a moment that I felt like they were like, let's do this, it'll be funny. Like I think they were freaking serious when they had that line come out. And that's how freaking awful that was because it was cringy as hell.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the most memorable lines of any of those movies just because of how awful it was. And you're right, like they made him like the hero of the film, really. Like he saves her in the movie. That's the whole point of all that. And yeah, so I guess he's like the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. If you're going like he's like,
this,
didn't you kind of
fucking baby
face. Said, do your thing, cuz didn't you kind of feel bad for her? Like she had to say that. Like you felt bad.
No,
like, man,
I
like,
think
she
I laughed out loud and kind of marked out. I mean, for me, I was like, "Fuck,"
What does Steve like about this movie? What's his favorite part? The magic button. He says he likes that magic button on her shirt.
Yeah. That is a magical button.
Her shirt of the magic button that just stayed shut. That one button. Yeah.
That's the one thing. That's the first thing that Steve brought up about that. Actually, that whole movie.
Yeah, I know. That's why I brought it up. I think what happened though is I think he said he had a couple gummies and that button undid. And the next time he watched it, he saw it.
He's like, oh God.
He was eating them. He's like, wow, the button came undone finally.
Oh.
Those yummy gummies.
Steve's tasting colors.
So we've got one more, man.
Yeah.
This is
Real
it.
quick though, that the initial release for this was DVD and 2 different Blu-rays. There's a Blu-ray 3D, which I have that as well, and there's a standard Blu-ray and a standard DVD. Will this ever see a re-release on anything else, you think?
A 4K? I don't think so. Not for a real long time. I mean, if they were going to do it, it would have probably been now.
You know which movie does have a 4K, but it's in German?
No.
Ain't that fucking killer? I rewatched this morning, actually.
I watched it once when it came out, so I don't remember it too much, but I remember kind of being like, what the hell is this? Why do we have this? But maybe you felt otherwise after seeing it again.
No.
I hope
this,
not. I'd
this
lose
was,
all faith in him if that's the fucking case.
This was difficult to get through. I got to be honest with you. I think of maybe all of the sequels, this is probably the worst. This is the worst one, I think. This is another origin story. And the weird thing is the director of this, and again, this is Blu-ray and DVD basic only. I actually recently bought this just to rewatch it. It's $6.99 on Amazon, and I still think I feel like I paid too much for it. But yeah, this one, it's another origin story. It kind of changes the story around it a little bit to where there's an incident that happens back in the 50s. They start this one in the 50s, where the sheriff's daughter gets killed by the Sawyers, and Leatherface as a young boy and his brother, I think, are taken to an insane asylum to live out the rest of their days, and they escape like 10 years later. And then from there on, it's like almost like a road movie.
It's a buddy movie.
Yeah, like what is those movies like California? It's kind of a very bad version of that. And then they never tell you like that Jed is his real name in this, is renamed, and they never tell you which kid is Leatherface in this. You don't know. So the first time you watch it, you're thinking it's this one dude, and it's not. It's the normal looking dude. This is directed by the guys that did Inside as well. That's the thing that surprises the shit out of me.
Well, I mean, when you look at like the Hills Have Eyes remake, which was done by the guy that did fucking High Tension and all that, I mean, there's a lot of those French connection people that came back and did some of these remakes and stuff. But this is probably the worst one. Like, I can't really think of one.
I think this is the worst, yeah.
Yeah.
This is probably the worst one. And there's some bad ones.
Yeah.
But Garrett, yeah, you watched it one time and that was enough for you said, right?
Yeah, I did. I watched it when I first got it, and I know somebody in here is talking about the slip again because we all talk about it. I have the slip for this, but with mainstream movies, 9 times out of 10, I'll box the slips up. I don't need them.
This movie was shot in Bulgaria. I didn't know that.
But I'm always excited for anything like Texas Chainsaw. Like, to me, when this first came out, I was like, okay, like, I'm curious to find out this origin story. Now, my question to you is like Hitchhiker in this, like, as a kid, or is he not included at all? If this is a prequel to the original, then they've got to talk about his brother, right? Like, is Hitchhiker the brother in the movie?
No,
I don't remember.
I'm confused because, okay, there's 2 kids that are taken, right? There's the fat dude, Bud, or whatever his name is. Is he the other brother? Because he gets killed. But they don't ever say, like, where is the other brother at? Now, later on in the movie, there's a character that looks an awful lot like Ed Neal whenever he's grown up, 10 years later. But they don't ever say.
And here's another question, too, when it comes to these films. What is Leatherface's name? Because I feel like it's always different, no?
It is, in every single one of them, it seems like. Yeah.
But what's the funniest thing to me is if you go back to the original, his brother, the hitchhiker, calls him Leatherface. Like he literally says, "Hey, Leatherface, come help me with." Like, so that always kind of made me laugh because I'm thinking to myself, like, imagine if you just called your brother Leatherface all the time. Like, how did that start? You know what I mean? Like, but they just like busting balls, and one day he's like, "I'm gonna call you Leatherface forever." Like,
don't they call him?
To me, always made it funny, and then they call him like, what is it, like Jed, and then Bob, and then
Bubba or something like that.
Bubba, yeah,
yeah.
And what was he called in the 3D? Like, what didn't he have another name? And I think
Drayton,
in the remakes,
when did they start calling him fucking?
That was the dad.
Oh, okay. When did?
And then Sawyer started in the
Sawyer
second one?
one?
Sawyer wasn't in the first movie. I think that was in the
No.
second one. As a matter of fact, I think Drayton was in the second one too. They didn't call him that name in the first movie.
That's right. Drayton Sawyer was the cook, right?
Yeah.
So
it's always
Yeah.
funny because I never knew, like, because you always hear different names, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell is his name supposed to be. Bubba Leatherface Sawyer.
He's Junior in part 3.
That's
says
right.
there.
Yeah.
And then he's Jed, right, in one?
He's Jed in a couple of them. I think he's Jed. Maybe they call him Jed in Chainsaw 3D as well.
And what is he in the remakes? Do you guys remember?
I think it's like, isn't it Thomas Hewitt or something like that?
Oh fuck, that's
Hewitt,
right.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
it's like, so then if you take that, would it be Tom Sawyer if you kind of mix them both together?
Yeah, play some Rush up in here. Uncle Bill would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Even though that's like the most mainstream Rush song.
But yeah, like I would say I would have to put this at the bottom of my list as far as all of them. But I do want to go back and rewatch this and part 3 because those are the ones I've watched the least.
Someone mentioned that it is well filmed. It looks good. It's just the content that's on there, man.
Didn't he have like a weird armadillo mask or something? Was there like a weird mask?
It's a cow mask, wasn't it?
Oh, that's what it was, like a cow head. Or
There's
something?
also a scene in this too that I wrote down here so I can remember, where there's 3 of them that's on the run and they hide in a dead cow's carcass.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah, that's what you do. It's like a fucking in Star Wars.
But yeah,
Tauntaun.
that was 5 years ago. So now, 5 years later, and this one, it did not come out in theaters, right? I don't think so.
No,
It
didn't.
was Jedediah.
Jedediah in 3D.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just Jed for short. Yeah.
So
this,
yeah,
this one was
did
direct
not. Uh,
to Sci-Fi Channel, maybe. I think.
Direct to video. I don't remember where this came from, but it was a Lionsgate movie. And that's kind of the end of the physical media game when it comes to these films here.
VOD.
And I will say that I have not watched the trailer for the new movie.
Oh, it looks great.
I know the cool thing to do would be to like film me watching the trailer as soon as it came out. But
Yeah, buddy.
if it's a listen, I'm big on like if it's a movie I'm gonna see, I'm not gonna watch the trailer. I want to go into it blind. I'm not gonna watch anybody's reviews, reactions, nothing. I did the same thing with Scream. I did the same thing with Ghostbusters. Like I'm gonna watch it regardless. I don't want to be spoiled at all. And I am hearing two sides of it. Some people say it looks freaking terrible. Some people say it looks good. I keep seeing a picture of him in like this like weird mushroom field or whatever, and I don't know what the hell that's from. I'm assuming
I don't
the
think anybody
trailer,
else
but, like,
does.
He pops
don't
up out there
understand.
like one of them fucking
He was
little prairie
taking the
dogs.
shit.
I don't know what's happening, but I assume that was in the trailer.
I'm gonna get you.
And that's all I know, and I'm really excited for it, just because it's always cool to kind of get a new movie, and I feel like Netflix always does pretty good with their stuff, but at the same time, I always feel like Texas Chainsaw is such a wild franchise that I'm not sure, like, does this supposed to fit in somewhere in a timeline, or is this its own thing? Like,
I think
I don't know what to think.
I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise is the hardest one of any of the big ones to get right. Like, and that's what they struggle with, like, because they want to make it like an origin story kind of thing, but it shouldn't ever be that. And then, like, sometimes they want to make it an origin story, sometimes they want to make it a slasher. It was never really any of those things for like a long time, like not in the beginning. And it just seems like they screw Texas Chainsaw up more so than any other franchise movie, with maybe the exception of like fucking Hellraiser or something like that, where they got like 50 sequels, but still, like, it's one of the worst ones. And I just can't get over the fact that in the trailer, I mean, the trailer looks fine, except for the fact that Leatherface, to me, looks exactly like that guy that gets fucking toxic waste dumped on him in RoboCop. Like, that's what the mask looks like to me.
It does look really bad.
I only saw it on the poster. I haven't seen what it looks like.
It debuts on the 18th, so it's coming up a week from Friday. I want to try to figure out. Steve mentioned having a watch party. I don't know exactly how that works. You can do it with Netflix, where I can host it, or one of you guys can host it, and we can literally watch it at the same time and comment on it and stuff like that.
Kind of like a regular watch along, and we just watch it when it airs.
Yeah, we're not on camera or anything. We're just kind of chatting in the chat as we. So that may be something. I don't know. We'll talk about it and see. But if we're going to rank them here before we get off here, and I want to seriously, huge thanks to everybody. We've had over 100 people in here all night long. Never dropped under 100 people for the last hour and a half.
Thank you, everybody.
So everybody that's come in here has been fucking killer. Thumbs up the video. And if I could thumb up each and every one of you, Jack Frost, even Andrew Bernarski, I would thumbs you guys up because it's been killer.
Yeah,
been a killer,
big thanks as
show.
well to Brendan at Wet Movie for all he did for us at the convention. That was cool to pass that stuff out. I know he missed Scout, but we'll get there. Yeah, thank you guys. And if anybody's coming in from my channel, make sure to subscribe to DEADPIT as well, because we do a lot of these streams together where we kind of simulcast things, and definitely appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you, Ken, so much, man. I appreciate you hopping in here and checking this out.
Yeah, Ken, big thanks. Phantasmat, he said he'd be down for the watch along as well. Nice. So yeah, we've got some stuff always planned, and I know Garrett over at Born the Number 2 BE Rad has always got some good stuff coming up. And one of the big things that we're working on right now, and we'll probably have a date for it maybe in the next couple of days, is post-Scream slasher films. So these were movies that basically, and it happens in every, not just horror movies, any kind. If there's a movie that makes money, here comes these studios making basically rip-offs of those movies. And they did that for years with these slasher movies that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, imagine doing post-Ring movies, right? We could, that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother show. But really quick, I want to make sure we don't forget to rank these each before we jump away.
Yeah, we'll definitely throw our rankings out there. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
You want to go?
All right. So in order from best to worst, 1, 2, I guess.
Are you Robert De Niro now?
I'm just trying to figure out, because I'm not a huge fan of 2, but I mean, in comparison to all the rest of them, yeah, probably 2. So 1, 2. I'm actually going to say 4 ahead of 3, because 4 is so fucking crazy, but I actually think the first half of that movie is better than 3. So 1, 2, 4, 3. And then who gives a fuck after?
Well, okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 4, 3. The beginning. The 2017 Leatherface. Wait, I'm doing best to worst. No, fuck. I messed this up. Okay, 1, 2, 4, 3. Then Leatherface 3D. Then the actual remake. Then the beginning, and then Leatherface 2017.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I'll go.
Now. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I've got mine wrote down here because I knew I would get fucking. Okay. 1, 2, Texas Chainsaw 3D, Part 3, 4, Remake, Beginning, and Leatherface.
Okay. All right. So I will go out now that I look at this, and as wacky as these are, and as bad as a lot of these are, I will say the ones that I've watched on a regular are at least entertaining enough for me to not shut them off. So I will give credit to that, even though this franchise is a complete mess, just as far as everything about it. But for me, it's going to be 1, 2, remake, beginning, 4, 3, and then Leatherface. Now, the reason I have 3 and Leatherface at the bottom is I don't remember 3 a lot, and Leatherface I saw just that one time. So on a rewatch, I may change my order, but 3D is going to come in right after the beginning. So the beginning, 3D, 4, 3, Leatherface. But
now another interesting thing too, since the newest movie is a Netflix movie and this is a physical media show, will there be a physical media version
there's got to
of
be
this movie?
There
I would
will
think they would have to be, just because it's part of a franchise like that. But
Right.
who's to say? It is Netflix. They have the control over it.
I'm sorry, that post is amazing. Texas Chainsaw 3D, the beginning, a used condom and Leatherface. Anyway,
Can
People
really quick
putting
before we
their-
leave, if Curly Jaws is in here, what's your ranking, bro?
Curly
oh,
Jaws, did
fucking
he?
brutal, bro.
Let's see. I don't know if he's still in here.
It's got to be in it.
He's in here. But
I know that
I'm
he
telling
put,
you, it's a gimmick, dude. It's a gimmick. He's a gimmick.
his number 1 is Texas Chainsaw 3D, and number 2 is 4.
no fucking way.
He's not. This is a gimmick, dude. It has to be.
It's not.
I love it. I love it. But
It is.
It's just so funny because
We need to get Curly Jaws on for a stream. That's what we need
That
to
guy is amazing.
It's like every day's opposite day for him.
Yeah.
do. Yeah. So,
I love
but
it.
yeah, guys, I mean, it's been a lot of fun, and we will get together again soon. Next week is the Super Bowl, so probably won't be having a show then, but we'll have some other fun stuff coming up. I know that me and Uncle Bill is doing a watch-along for Sally's Escape from Hell. I'll probably put that up tomorrow or maybe Tuesday. And that's probably one of the best Texas Chainsaw fan films that you're ever going to see. We do a watch-along for that to get everybody in the chainsaw mood, baby.
Yeah, after that whole Scream debacle, I was absolutely fucking amazed that somebody could make a good fan film. That was really
Now, what do you? Before we jump off here, I always like. It's not Texas Chainsaw, but to me, I always feel like after I watch the original Texas Chainsaw, I always like to watch this movie as well. And I don't know what people really think about it because we don't talk about it often. Is Eaten Alive? Do you guys
knew that
like
was
that
coming.
film? I always feel like that and Texas Chainsaw to me like go hand in hand, and I've always felt that way. Do you guys like that? Because I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough, and I think there's very mixed opinions on that movie. But
I think there's several movies that came out around that time that had the same vibe. They may be not as good, but they have the same vibe as like Texas Chainsaw. I think that Tourist Trap does. I think that one does. Eaten Alive does. I mean, I don't hate it. I actually kind of liked it from what I remember of it, but it's one that I haven't seen.
It's another one that's
years.
like a midnight movie vibe too, kind of, right? It's almost like it takes place on like a, I don't know, it's almost like a Broadway
it's like
play
a little,
or something.
Yeah, it all takes place in one spot, basically.
yeah,
this
and it's a
bar.
very gritty movie, and it's got what's her name in it as well, right? It's got Sally is
Marilyn
in there,
Burns.
and,
yeah.
and I think Arrow I think put out the blue, and it's really cool if you guys.
That's
don't
another
have
one
it,
that
but,
Dark Sky did back in the day, the DVD
yeah.
of it, I think.
Yeah. So
Curly
Yeah.
Jaw's ranking is on here, by the way. He put it 3D, 4, 3,
That shit.
2, 1,
remake.
and then the remake. Fuck the prequels. He's not a fan of the prequels.
Wow,
So at
one's
least
down
there's
there,
that.
huh?
That's a great list.
But is there anything you got coming up on the channel, Garrett, you want to mention on here? And
Yeah,
before we
I mean,
get
I
off?
got a couple Karate Kid videos in the works because I haven't been able to finish my series that I was doing this month, so I got a couple of those coming. We've got the Scream stuff, like we said. We're trying to find a date on that. That's all I think I have on deck right now. But if I have anything else, I'll pop it through. I know
Cool.
my brother and his wife want to get something going soon, so I'm curious what they have in store. Usually, they come up with the ideas for our videos, so I know that's something that we're going to work on this week. So,
Awesome.
if you guys like those videos with us, then it's coming.
So that is it, guys. It's bedtime, and
I'm like, hey, shit.
Bedtime.
Laying
we
down
got to
the
get
law.
going. But
Bedtime, motherfucker.
they heard you.
It's like fucking
What?
Freddy.
Wes, bedtime.
Let's go to bed, motherfucker.
It's 11:39. You're past your bedtime.
All right, guys. But check us out. Born, the number 2, BE Rad. And, of course, DeadPit.com.
Bedtime.
Give us the
bitch.
thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a if you do or
I
not.
want you to. I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on
No,
YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that, pal.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell. Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. DeadPit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows and fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.